Ms. Seymour is not present. Mr. Moss.
Here.
Mr. Lance is not present speaking. Ms. Jordan. Here. Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Steiger. And Mr. Katz.
Here.
You have 4 members present.
Maybe please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want to join me up here, please? It's an exciting evening so far, Mayor. You've had a great, wonderful group of individuals who were in the recreation building, saying nice things about you, congratulating you, and it was just a real nice event. I apologize, I was trying to get to you, but you were doing running and nobody let me through. One or the other. But anyways, we have a resolution that we'd like to present to you from my colleagues, council. And it reads as, whereas Mayor Congresswoman Elect Lawrence is a longtime resident of the city of Southfield and dedicated elected official who has served the citizens of Southfield for more than 18 years. The product of Michigan's public school system, Darryle Lawrence is alumni of Pershing High School in addition to receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree in Public Administration from Central Michigan University. In 2001, Mayor Lawrence became the first African American mayor of Southfield, and she was re-elected mayor 3 times over the past 12 years. Mayor Lawrence has been a strong community advocate for many years, both as an elected official and private citizen. She has served on the Southfield City Council, where she was elected president in 1999. Mayor Lawrence has also served on the Southfield Public School Board of Education as president, vice president, and secretary. Mayor Lawrence initiated a number of new community programs as mayor, including the Mayor's Walk community health program. Somebody's asking me this evening if we're going to continue that. I don't even know if we read them. and that's, the other is Mayor's Roundtable, a citizens-driven forum where residents can discuss one-on-one topics that concern them. A Southfield Read, a program designed to promote reading literacy in the city of Southfield. Annual Flower Day, and the citywide blood drive. And whereas Mayor Lawrence has received numerous honors for her leadership, skills, and commitment to diversity, and I know that this evening Mayor Lawrence was given a lot of accolades. There was a portion of the program in which people went to the podium and presented things to our mayor, and I can't mention all of them. I know that out to you and the United States Congress, what did you say? Congress gave her a nice tribute, and it was a very, very nice program that we had. And this is the council meeting, and this is where we conduct business, and this is where we like to present our mayor and the Congresswoman to all those who are seeing on cable. Mayor Lawrence has received, like I stated, numerous honors. She was recognized in 2007 as one of Frank's 2007 most influential women. She received the 2004 Rand Award for Breaking New Frontiers for Women and Minorities, the Jewish Board Veteran State of Michigan Motherhood Award, the Leadership Detroit Challenging the Process Award, the ABWA Millennium Chapter Woman of the Year Award, the Detroit Historical Society's Enterprising Woman Award, Leadership Open 2004 Distinguished Leadership and Future Leaders Award for exemplary leadership. And the Black Woman Achiever Award, Mayor Lawrence was also named to the Women's Informal Network list of the most influential African American women in metropolitan Detroit. Through the survey of area leadership organizations, and I'm sure there's many, many more accolades that we can bestow upon our mayor, these are just a few. Mayor Lawrence was also identified by Cranes for Business as a regional leader with the skills and determination to bridge the historicism of the metropolitan area. Now, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Southfield County of Oakland, State of Michigan, to hereby recognize Mayor Elect Lawrence for her many accomplishments for many years of exemplary service to the citizens of Southfield. And resolved that elected officials and citizens of Southfield collectively thank Mayor Lawrence for her leadership and service, as we wish her much success as she continues to represent the city of Southfield in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. And Mayor, I want to congratulate you not only for becoming our congressman, but for all the work that you did behalf of the city and serving the state.
two little simple things. We can take the dissatisfaction that we're having currently with our House of Representatives Congress and start changing that. On one voice can change the conversation. It can change a room. It can change a state. And I'm going to Congress to change and to make a difference. I ask continuously for your prayer. I know ultimately I'm where I am when I'm supposed to be here. I'm here now. This is where I'm supposed to be now. Thank you all so much.
You know that Vincent Gregory could not be our senator, but he dropped this off a special tribute to the Honorable Brenda Lawrence, Mayor of the City of Southfield, from the state of Michigan. These are the senator of the 14th District. And this goes on to say, to let you know that it is a distinct personal privilege to extend the highest praise and commendation to the Honorable Mayor Brenda Lawrence and the excellent job she has done on behalf of the City of Southfield for the past 18 years. We are pleased to join the Southfield Area Chamber of Commerce in recognizing Mayor Lawrence's service to the community at a farewell reception on Monday, December 15, 2014, at the Southfield Municipal Complex, and to wish her well as she leads for the United States Congress. We are confident her influence will long be felt for the years to come. Thank you.
Now, I've had 22 years in elected office. I've been married to this man for 42. So half of the time that we've been married, he's been sharing me with the public. So this is lovely.
Jeremy, you're next. Come on down.
Right.
My parents are coming up.
I'm gonna miss you.
They're going to exercise all along, buddy. Right. That's how you're doing. Nice seeing you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jeremy, this is a resolution of recognition. This is a joint with the mayor and city council. Whereas Councilman State Representative Elect Jeremy Moss is an lifelong Southfield resident who was recently elected to serve in Michigan's 35th House District. And whereas Councilman Moss is a graduate of the public school system in the district and an alumni of Michigan State University, I guess that's okay. Where he graduated with high honors in journalism and political science. And whereas Councilman Moss is also alum and past president of the University chapter of the National Co-ed Honor Fraternity Phi Sigma Phi. And whereas as a Spartan, Councilman Moss studied abroad in South Africa, learning the political and social history of a nation making the transition from apartheid towards democracy. While there, he was part of the pioneer group of students who established the Movement Suku. I got that somewhat right. And I don't know why you're challenging my ability to do this. While he was part of the group of students, and also the center in the township of Dunkeys Easeway.
Oh, you're natural.
To assist all his children and orphans in HIV and AIDS. Whereas locally, Councilman Moss has been actively engaged in shaping the public policy since he was old enough to vote. He worked in the office of Mayor Brenda Lawrence and former State Representative Paul Condino, gaining a wide range of knowledge about local and state issues and their effect on our community. Councilman Moss also served the citizens of the 35th House District as the District Director of State Representative Rudy Cobbs. Through his role, he helped provide answers to residents for their day-to-day needs from state government. In the November 11th election, Councilman Ross placed first among 8 candidates vying for the 4-year seat for the council of the city of Southfield, becoming the youngest elected official in Southfield's history. He served as chairman of the city's council, legislative and urban affairs committee, and a member of the boards and commissions committee. Whereas in November of 2014, Councilman Moss was elected by 31,655 votes to the Michigan State House to represent the 35th District, which includes Southfield, Southfield Township, Lakewood Village, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills. I mean, that's almost as bad as the mayor. I'll never be resolved that we, the mayor, city council, and city of Southfield County of Oakland, state of Michigan, do hereby recognize Councilman Darryle Moss for his many accomplishments and service to the citizens of Southfield. God bless you and very best to you.
Mayor Lawrence, Council President Katz, to our city administrator and our city clerk and our city attorney, I'm not one to be short on words, and you all know that. So I will be speaking more at the council portion of our agenda. But Mayor Lawrence steps down as mayor at the end of this year. I actually am stepping down sooner than that, and I wanted to read this letter that I submitted to the clerk just this afternoon. Dear Honorable Mayor and City Council, after being elected to serve as state representative for Michigan's 35th House District in November, I am required to take the oath of office administered by the clerk of the House of Representatives before January 1, 2015. I cannot serve in my current elected office while taking an oath to serve in another office. As such, I hereby resign from the Southfield City Council effective Friday, December 19, 2014, so that I can take the oath of office as state representative on Monday, December 22nd, 2014. It has been a distinct honor to serve the citizens of the city of Southfield as city councilman at a time when we were able to work collaboratively to maintain a safer city, to emerge from the foreclosure crisis, and to help lead an economic rebound. I'm looking forward to working with each of you to grow the partnership between the city of Southfield and the state of Michigan. Sincerely, Jeremy Moss, Southfield City Council.
All
Some of my comments for later on in the meeting. I do want to invite the public to ceremonial swearing in. As I mentioned, I'm going to be sworn in as state representative a week from today in Lansing, but I really wanted to make sure that I have the opportunity to celebrate with the public and the citizens here in Southfield and the rest of the district. There is no council meeting on Monday, January 5th, so I've taken that time at 7 p.m. here in this council chambers to have a swearing-in ceremony, and I hope that the public can join me for a celebration in moving forward and really collaborating together with the city and the state to the betterment of Southfield. So
We'll be here.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone here. I have to acknowledge the two people to my left, my parents, who I will also acknowledge later on in the council meeting. But my family's been in the city for quite a while. My parents bought their first home here, their first home where they still live, and the home that I grew up in 1979. My grandparents built their home here in Southfield in 1967. So my great-grandfather lived in Southfield for a while. So I'm Southfield through and through, and I appreciate all that the city has done for me, and I'm working my way to get back to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have two others, Mayor, to Fern Katz.
Fern? Fern? Oh, there she is.
You know, I served on the school board, and I can tell you of all the positions I've held, that has been the one that is, I will truly say, was the one that required the most passion, the most commitment. Because every decision that you make has an impact on a child, and that child's education and their ability to be successful. So when you talk about putting down a road, yes, I take that very seriously. But I can tell you, votes that I took on city council, on school board, sometimes kept me awake at night. I wanted to always do the right thing. And I'm honored to stand here with the one who's dedicated her whole life to education. Education as an educator, and then coming in as an elected office to ensure that the policy of education in the city of Southfield were protected, they were funded, and that our educators were prepared and ready. So it's with great honor that we present a joint resolution to you, whereas as a long-time Southfield resident and Southfield Public School Board trustee, Ms. Katz has dedicated her life to community activism and helping others. She is a past school board education president, trustee, who served for 9 years on the Southfield School Board. She is a retired math teacher and professional volunteer teaching in Oak Park Public School. She is also a longtime member of the Women's Action for Nuclear Disarmament, Michigan, having served as president, treasurer, and chair of the Will Lobby Court and in various other capacities. She was honored by the Jewish Senior Life of Metropolitan Detroit with the 8/8 Award. Ms. Katz has also been involved in numerous organizations, including the National Council of Jewish Women and the Michigan Public Education Task Force. She has represented the National Council of Jewish Women at the United Nations in Beijing at the 4th World Conference of Women on Women. She has been a major player and successfully advocated that the Southfield City Council pass a resolution opposing the Patriot Act. And in 2001, she was awarded the Heart and Soul Award from the United Way of Southeastern Michigan. Be it resolved that we, the mayor and the council of the city of Southfield, county of Oakland, state of Michigan, do I recognize you for your many contributions to the Southfield Public School District and the city of Southfield. And we say thank you and congratulations.
I'm proud to say that turmoil is long gone. And our school district has progressed to the point where we are now the top #1 district in the state for African American students. Our students earned $23 million this year in scholarships. And this really is a tribute to the students, to the teachers, and to their parents who supported us and supported their children in this journey. And we are looking to make our district even better. We do not wish to be the top #1 African American subgroup in the state. We wish to be the top district in the state. And we are. And I know that the new representatives on the school board are going to continue in this fashion. They are extremely well qualified. So I thank you very much for this honor, and I wish my best to the mayor and to Jeremy Moss. I know that they are going to continue in the spirit of Southfield, so thank you again.
I'd like to ask Mr. Darryle Buchanan to please come forward. It looks like a son of yours over there. Ladies and gentlemen, I talked about the importance of the school board. I can tell you cannot have a more passionate person.
Let this short guy come up here. I need somebody to fight.
Wow.
What's your name? What's your name?
So, ladies and gentlemen, for the past 16 years, Mayor Buchanan has resided in the city of Southfield with his wife and 2 sons who are here with him today. He has served as president and trustee on the Southfield School Board for 9 years. Mr. Buchanan is a strong community and public education advocate who has worked tirelessly as a member for the betterment of students and young adults throughout Michigan. He is the co-founder of Transition Basketball, a nonprofit sports organization that has helped both young people to obtain high achievement in sports, business, and higher education. He has served as the director of the Michigan State University Extension Leadership Council of Oakland County. He is past president in Michigan of the Caucus of Black School Board Members, vice president of the board of the directors of the Michigan Association of School Boards. He has obtained the Master Platinum Award with the Michigan Association of School Boards and was the recipient of the Southfield Area Council Nancy Goodman Award for his contributions to education. I want to personally say that you can serve in an elected office, but what makes you effective is what's inside your passion and how you care about those that you're elected to serve. And I can say that I have witnessed personally Darryle Buchanan's passion and his tireless work to make a difference in our schools and with our young people. To his 2 sons that stand here, I know he's just dad's here, but he is a remarkable man, and he's a leader in our community. And to his bride, I know you love him regardless, but we love him, and we think that he's amazing.
Thank you all. You know, 16 years ago is community. I was standing on the playground at Kennedy Elementary with that young man right there as he was starting in the first grade. The thing I recognized is that in order for him to be successful, because I wanted to make sure he had the best educational opportunities available, that was not going to happen without all the kids that were involved with him being as successful. So I volunteered. I told Ms. Beck, first grade teacher, if you need anything, call me. She said, call you? I said, yeah, call me. They called, I showed up. And every time I would ask, I showed up. And that's really what service is. More so than anything, is showing up and being there, and representing and putting in the work that's required in order for all the children to be successful. I'm proud of the service that I was able to give to this community, and I look forward to, greater things happening. Now, as Trustee Katz said, all the heavy lifting is out of the way in terms of where we were. And now we're moving forward on to greater things, and I'm honored to have been a part of all of that. So I thank everybody here for giving me that opportunity, and see what the future holds. Thank you.
Well, that concludes the presentations. If I'm going up there, somebody would like to move the...
I'll move the minutes. Support. Dave, I move the minutes for the Committee of the Whole meeting of September 8th, 2014, Committee of the Whole meeting for September 22nd, 2014, the regular meeting of September 22nd, 2014, Committee of the Whole meeting on October 6th, 2014, and the special meeting of October 16th, 2014. Support.
Moved by Mr. Snyder, supported by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And nays? The motion carries.
Do you entertain a motion for the consent agenda?
For the reading.
Okay.
Council, we're going to pass up on F, and we'll read it, but I would then refer it over to our city administrator so that he will make some comments regarding it. Consent agenda A, CoStar database, contract renewal. It's authorized the mayor and city clerk to enter into a 3-year contract with CoStar Group to provide a commercial real estate database service to the business development and assessing departments for the period of November 1st, 2014 through October 31st of 2017. The money is available at $18,048, and that would be a yearly amount, and the contract would be over a 3-year period. B would be the contract for performance gear and mat rental, cleaning services of Department of Public Works and Fire Department. It is to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract for uniform and mat rental and cleaning services with Cintas of Livonia, Michigan, for the approximate annual cost of $12,000 for the period of January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2017. Funds are provided for the service in the public works, the water, motor pool, communications, major streets, local streets, fire department, and those will be relatively and will be requested in a future budget as council may approve it. C would be the demolition and site clearance of 24316 Van Erie. The award goes to Blue Star Inc. of Warren, Michigan for the low bid of $11,950. This would be for the purpose for providing the construction or tearing out of the building and turning it into a graded condition and seated. This would come from the support services budget comptroller and professional accountant. Let me go through this and I'll get back to you. You see Mr. Lance? Was it indicated Mr. Lance is here?
Yes.
And D would be the request for enhancement of mobile application. And again, that's authorized the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Bar Z of Austin, Texas, to develop a mobile application that will be available on the Apple and Android platforms. Bar Z will provide support on limited POIs, a website, iBeacon, development, and a content management solution. Funds in this amount of $21,990 are provided in the 2014-2015 support services budget. E would be the approval of the personal services contract with St. John Providence Health System and Occupational Health Partners to provide free placement medical examinations, annual medical examination for police, fire, and management group employees, Department of Transportation commercial driver license, and medical examinations. It is an independent medical examination services, and it is effective January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2017, with an option of 1-year extension. F would be to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the lease, surrender, and mutual termination agreement between the Southfield Housing Limited Dividend Housing Association, LLC, and the city of Southfield, on behalf of the city. I'm going to ask the city manager, city administrator to comment regarding this.
Yes, Mr. President. Late this afternoon, I received a phone call. As council is aware, we're closing on the refinancing from McDowell Town River Park Place. Around 4:45, I received a phone call. We also do need to have the authorization to have the mayor and clerk sign an assignment of leases and security deposit between the Southfield Housing Dividend Housing Association, LLC, and the City of Housing. If council will recall, in July of 2014, we entered into a lease for the co-op cooperative store to be operated by a private party. In addition to the cooperative store, we also introduced a pharmaceutical component for the benefit of our residents there. I do have a revised council item. This came through, and the execution of the agreement will be upon the final review by our city attorney. So we actually are asking council to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign 2 documents. One is the lease surrender and mutual termination agreement. That document actually releases the city or terminates the lease the city has had for the senior space going back to the 70s, and there's 2 more years on that. That lease also includes a minor remuneration to terminate that lease, that consisting that two pool tables, 2 Tiffany-style lamps, and 8 bar stools will be left on site. The rest of the assets will be disposed of, will either be used by our Parks and Rec in the new senior center, which is housed here in the Parks and Rec building, or at the Beechwood Center, or will be disposed of in accordance with our charter. That is, items will be put up in an electronic auction format. I do have a revised item I'm happy to pass out, and again, I apologize. I got this around 4:45. I was actually out for lunch when I took the call. So,
Council, are there any comments or questions regarding the amended report?
I would like to pull item D. Not anything the city administrators have.
Okay, then we're going to go on to G. This is Health Insurance Contribution Act compliance. It is to approve the calendar year 2015 hard cap annual limits of $5,992.50 times the number of employees with single coverage was $12,531,075 times the number of employees with individual and spouse coverage, the $16,342.66 times the number of employees with family coverage, and employee premium deductions per day period of BCBS, Community Blue, PPO 10, $35 is a single, $84 employee for spouse, 105 family, and half 10, 58 for single, 135 for employee spouse, and 143 for family. BCBS Community Blue, PPO 12, is $0 for single, $0 for employee spouse, and 0 for family. This plan is an alternative health insurance option for management group and administrative civil service employees. H would be the last one, and this was discussed at the council meeting prior to this one that we are now in, and that is the 2013-14 year in action, the fund balance allocation at fourth quarter. So I would like to have an approval, not including C, D, and D, I believe. Is that it? Is that correct, counsel? Okay, Mr. Land, you wanted to talk about C.
I have experience of other things like this.
Can you pull your microphone for me?
I have experienced all these years demolition of private homes, and when that happened, it was just a shame that we demolished private homes and not give the people a chance to get the money to fix up the house. When they want to demolish a house, the building department, who does that?
Building permit, we did that out for demolition.
Okay, I know
And it was
you
your
did.
court,
Who initiated
courts.
courts? Who initiated going to court to demolish the house?
The building code, made a complaint,
Okay.
and we go to court for,
I know when they go to court, there's no hearing. The judge just signs the paper when it's stuck under his nose, and I'm assuming it happened here. Now, how long was this house waiting to be demolished? How much time?
Mr. President?
What do they do?
city
for
attorney,
people to help
city
them?
attorney will answer that
Sure,
question.
perhaps I could offer some assistance. The fire occurred late last year. Various notices were then sent to the property owner indicating that it was a fire damaged, blighted, unsafe structure. Several notices went unresponded to. Eventually, the building department came to the city attorney's office, requested that a violation be issued. That was then pursued by the city attorney's office in the 46th District Court. Ultimately, there was no cooperation by the property owner, and at some point, the judge ordered that the structure be demolished because there was no efforts by the property owner to remedy the property and put it into a condition that was safe and not in a blighted condition. And so, you had almost a year where nothing was happening on this property, and ultimately the judge said this property should be demolished.
Was there a hearing before the judge?
There's always, Mr. Lynch, there's always a motion that's filed by our office. It's served upon the property owner. We hope they come to court. We hope we get cooperation. We want cooperation. But many times the property owner does not show up in court for the motion. There is a hearing if they were there. If they don't appear for that motion, then it's basically a default because they've not come to court to contest what the city wants to do, and therefore the judge then, as in this case, ordered the property to be demolished.
Were the people there in front of the judge this time?
They were notified. I'm trying to recollect on this one if they actually, I think this was a default. My indication is that they failed to appear. and that's not uncommon. You know, they're given many, many months of notices, and we try to work with them. We enter into consent orders oftentimes, giving them time to take some effort and preserve the property if that's what their intent is. But at some point, when there's no cooperation, the property sits there blighting the neighborhood, I think that we rightfully ask a judge to demolish and rid the neighborhood of this blight. And that's what happened here.
Okay. The explanation is there. So I understand many other homes over a period of years were demolished just like that. But all right, as long as you have an explanation, you went through the whole rigmarole, okay. That's a good explanation.
You know, Mr. Lawrence?
Thank you.
Mr. Perkowski, on that item.
Okay.
I
This is
just,
on the linear.
I wanted a question to the chair of the city attorney. There was an insurance settlement on this house, correct?
Yes, there was fire insurance on this property, and the city did, under now that we are a participant in that fire proposal program with the state of Michigan, we did receive in escrow, it's being held by the city, $8,295. In the event that the city needs demolished, we're able to use that towards demolition. So we, in fact, now that we are moving towards demolition, we will use that $8,295 for demolition. The balance between what the bid amount, the lowest responsible bid was, and the $8,295 will be leaving the property.
It's my understanding in some of these cases that the amount of the insurance settlement is not enough to rebuild the house. And so the property owner takes what he can get out of the house and then more or less walks.
I think we have seen that, absolutely.
Well, I know we've seen it. So I think this is perhaps another case of that. I don't know for sure, but the fact, I would not want to live next to a house that's been burned out for 13 months with absolutely no action, not even a building permit pulled. I don't think it's fair to the neighbors, the neighborhood. So I intend to support this.
Mr. Saber, you want to take the D?
Yeah, on D, I am all for the mobile app. So what I'm about to say is, we reviewed this at our last meeting. The part that I am uninformed about, and I don't believe it came up at all, is the iBeacon development. I really would like to know more about what that entails. I totally understand the app. I think it's a great idea. But I've heard, and I got some information from a resident today that has some concerns about iBeacon, and I can't respond to it because I don't know enough about it.
Mr. Saber, would you like that table so that we can get more information? Is there any hurry to get this item through? Do we have any?
Was there an issue with the deadline on this item?
We could certainly act on it in January. We are in a beta. We are putting it together and testing and cleaning up the content. But in particular, what more was the question? Or?
Well, the concern is that about the radio waves that iBeacon emits. And again, I don't know anything about it. And it did not come up in our study session.
Yeah, I'm certainly not prepared to answer questions about radio waves, and that's, I can tell you this is technology everyone is using. Businesses throughout this part of the city have mobile apps, are using them to navigate, transportate. This is essential to part of the city having a modern platform for messaging for the family at home who maybe wants to register their child for a swim class, basketball, soccer, art classes, to be able to do this online. For our businesses, for maybe someone who's looking for a new church or synagogue. There's so many ways to help promote the city.
Mr. Dorn, I'm all for all of that. I just, and it can go ahead on a vote tonight, but I would like more information on the
Could I offer a suggestion? I know
iBeacon?
those were two separate elements. The iBeacons were a separate part of this. Would the council be comfortable with going forward with the mobile app that has a launch date in late December targeted?
I'm fine with that. The other thing was, my understanding was that I could pick up my phone and just have the mobile app on it and use it that way through existing cell towers. So, that's what I'd like clarified.
Yeah.
How is this going to work? I'm very comfortable, again, using a phone.
The beacon for that you come into City Hall, welcome to the Southfield City Hall. It's just it hits you at a point of recognition. It's a way to message certain things in different areas and such. Other than that, I'm on my outer edge of the technology. If we could perhaps move on the mobile app and hold back on the beacon and let us bring that at a committee of the whole for more in-depth discussion.
Well, I would appreciate that.
Let's do that. We will take, I'm going to ask that some member make the motion for all the items A through H, and then we will amend the one item and put iBeacon off to a meeting. We'd like to have it in January.
I'll do it.
Is that possible?
Want to do it?
But the part that, Mr. Snyder, did you want to speak?
I said, you want me to make?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I move that we approve consent agenda items A through H with amendment to item D, which is the beta test of the app only, and getting more information on the iBeacon portion of this agenda item.
It's moved by Mr. Frazier, supported by Mr. Stiver. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carries. We will now go to the public hearings. We have GP 1272-P, and clerk is in copy advertised.
Yes, this item was advertised.
Terry and our city attorney, would you like to,
Thank you.
whoever to go first, and
Thank
then
you,
we'll
Mr.
pick it up.
GP 1272P is a council-initiated zoning ordinance text amendment to amend Title V, zoning and planning of Chapter 45 zoning of the Code of the City of Southfield by adding a new section 5.179 entitled Uses Permitted Subject to Special Approval and licensing to Article 19 Light Industrial Districts, and to add new definitions to Article 2 definitions. Principally, this amendment specifically concerns providing special land use provisions to allow for medical marijuana facilities in accordance with the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, Public Act 2008 as amended, within light industrial districts, and by providing definitions as to relate those medical marijuana facilities. As the council may recall, the state passed the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act in 2008. The council has had numerous study sessions on this item. On July 26, 2010, I believe the first moratorium was put in place for further study. The council went through a number of studies and considered regulations by the Planning Commission at the time, but there was still a lot of open-ended issues. During the past 3 years, there have been some amendments made to the Medical Marijuana Act, and some legal cases have been resolved. What the council is considering is to provide reasonable regulations of this, to provide a facility for primary caregivers, to provide, to register patients in compliance with the Medical Marijuana Act. This will be regulated as a special land use in the light industrial district with several conditions: separation from schools, houses, residences, and other requirements. Review by the police department, fire department, building department. Hours of operation will be limited. These are not dispensaries. These are not open to the public. Primary caregiver has to have an intimate relationship with no more than 5 registered patients. This is to provide facilities for those primary caregivers in compliance with state law for Michigan medical marijuana.
I'd like the city attorney to make mention in her portion to why is this not being able to, the moratorium to be again extended. I had a question on that.
Sure. The moratoriums were put in place over the last few years because I think that council wanted to see how the act was going to be interpreted within the court system. And primarily we were waiting on a case that finally got to the Michigan Supreme Court earlier in 2014, and that was that Terbeek versus City of Wyoming case. And what some cities had done, and I think council was watching to see how that would be interpreted, was certain cities in the state had basically prohibited medical marijuana on the basis that it was prohibited under federal law, under the Federal Controlled Substances Act. And therefore, their zoning ordinance was amended to include a provision that you could not, in any zoning district, have some type of activity or use that was violative of federal law. And since marijuana was still under the Schedule I Controlled Substances Act, was illegal, that made then all medical marijuana outlawed in every zoning district in those cities. And the Terbeek case was decided earlier this year, and it basically said, cities, you don't have the power and the authority to do that. The state of Michigan, through initiative and then through the company statute, it reflected not only the voters, but then the legislature's intent that medical marijuana under certain conditions, as outlined in the statute, was a legal activity, and it was a legal substance for medical purposes. And therefore, the Terbeek case said that a city, which is a creature of the state, cannot outlaw something that the state permitted. And so I think to the extent that we had the moratoriums, we wanted to see how was the Supreme Court in particular going to look at this and view an outright ban. We now know the answer to that. And again, the Zoning Enabling Act under Michigan law does not allow a city to ban an activity in all zoning districts. Generally, you cannot ban it in all zoning districts. So we are now at a point where a continued moratorium could be seen as just another mechanism to ban it in all zoning districts. That it is now time to look at medical marijuana as a lawful use, which it is, and look at where would it be appropriately zoned within the city of Southfield. And that's where, between the planning department and the city attorney's office, we've looked at a mechanism to place it in an appropriate zone so that it will have the least detrimental effects on residential neighborhoods, commercial neighborhoods, and come up with some restrictions that really safeguard the interests of the residents and the businesses. And so that's kind of where we have come with the whole review of what do we do with the medical marijuana in Southfield.
Do we have any comments before I open the public hearing? Mr. Lance, can you hold your comments until you get the public? I'm going to declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishes to speak regarding the public hearing? Back there, in the back. Could you please come up and give me your name and address for the record, please? You have 3 minutes, sir.
Yes, evening, council members, mayor. My name is Fern Schwartz, 24289 Lois Lane. I'd like to address this issue. I understand the city attorney's position that you may not have the right to ban it, but it seems to me that if you just don't not ban it, but just don't authorize it, you may not get challenged. So I would say continue the moratorium until somebody actually challenges us. I do not like the concept of marijuana in our city. To me, it's like check cashing. all those negative things that you guys have talked about, and thank you very much for the email that brought me here. Those are the negative things in our city. We don't need that, and we don't need that image. When I learned that the city had a moratorium, I didn't know it was a moratorium. I thought it was just a ban. I was very, very, very proud of Southfield, and I thought, this is great. We got great leadership. I understand the state's position. I push back or not do anything until they push on us. I don't like it. It's not a legal thing. I just don't like the image, and we need the city that has a very high standards and morals. That's what I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the back, opposite where you were sitting, sir, yes, please come up. Give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, my name is Alan Fleischer. I live at 30175 Vernon Drive. I've been there more than 20 years, and I wish to object to this ordinance for a number of reasons. First of all, this would be a valid ordinance if it was regulating provisioning centers. That bill's still pending in the legislature. Passed the House last year, but it's not a valid ordinance for caregivers for the same reason as Trevik, because the caregivers entitled to the same immunities under Section 4B that Trevik was entitled to under Section 4A, which is what that case was decided on. In other words, you're preempted by state law from imposing any civil penalty or criminal penalty on a caregiver who is compliant with Section 4B of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. And that was very clear. In this case, Trevik says that you can't impose any penalty, civil or criminal, as long as they're in compliance with that, they're immune to that. So that's my objection on a legal ground. I should have an attorney correctly. Attorney Southfield for 20 years. As a practical matter, there are people who do need this medication for cancer, glaucoma, employed by more than 63% of the voters in the state. Approximately 1 in 100 people is a registered medical marijuana patient in this state. So if you do the math, apply that to the city of Southfield, just on an average basis, it means we have at least 500 medical marijuana patients in the city, maybe more. This zoning ordinance that they're asking you to approve will allow for only 5 caregivers, and each caregiver can have only 5 patients. So you're really only allowing for 25 patients, which is inadequate for the anticipated number of medical marijuana patients. So I would ask that you continue through this moratorium rather than face the lawsuit like they did in Trevik versus the city of Wyoming. I encourage you all to read that opinion before deciding this, because there's a lot of legal fees that could be result from this ordinance that was challenged in the court. I'm sure the city attorney can provide insight to it. It's the first page of volume 495 of Michigan Reports.
Sir, you're setting this up in like 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Owen, can you get cable to turn up the sound on this mic? I
See
have
what we
very
can do.
difficult time hearing. Thank you.
Me too.
Let me state this, that anyone who comes to the mic, just raise your voice a little more and speak directly into that bug there so we can hear you. Okay? And I did hear you, sir, and I heard your comments.
Thank you.
Pam, you had your hand up next. Oh, this lady, young lady on the aisle, whoever. Is this?
Hi, Bishop Michael.
Just a minute, I want to hear one of you.
Okay.
Okay, you sit down and I'll let you speak and give you 3 minutes, but.
Both of y'all can go one at a time.
One at a time.
Church.
Yeah, you're at least 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Bishop Michael Lawrence, Advocate of Christ Civic Ministry. I'm the vicar, and I operate in the episcopacy there, and have been operating as their pastor and their cleric for the past 21 years. As far as this,
Do you have your address, please?
16500 North Park Tower. The church's address is 21853 Northwestern Highway, Southfield, Michigan, 48075.
Thank you very much.
But as far as this is concerned as a cleric matter, I'm very concerned about this becoming an active situation in our community. I applaud the City Council for their study, their investigation in this, but as we know, as far as it affects the personality and lives, those that would not hold to the rules, I'm not for this. I'm not for this for our congregants, for our citizenry, for our people. I think we should hold steady on the moratorium until we know factually that this is going to operate under the guise of medical marijuana for those patients that really need it at that. And if that be the case, why not set this inside of hospitals? They already dispense medicine. Why not set this inside of hospitals? Why put this outside where people can, in some kind of way, fall through the loops? If it's medical, then leave it with the medical society, with medical dispensaries, and people who are already legislated and legally governed by the medical universities, hospitals, laws, and also the faculty of such. Thank you, Peter.
Please give your name and address for the record.
Yes, thank you, members, for hearing me. My name is Anita Cunnington. I am at 20639 Kensington Court here in Southfield, and I concur. This is with my pastor that you just heard from, and I'm here also to speak for our church community that we are also in support of the moratorium, and that past studies, I'm not going to go through all this because it's too lengthy, but just to state for record that I and our church community and members of my immediate area where I live are not in support of having these various locations. Of course, we want those who need medical attention. Of course, I may need it one day, and we would like to see that, but in the right perspective. So, in saying that, the studies have also proven that it's a crime magnet. From ages of 15 to, say, I think I read a study, 15 to 24, 28 years old. So there's so many other issues that are involved. And I did hear in the reading, the fire department, police department, all of those issues in facilities in place. So we do know that there's crime that comes with this as well. So therefore, I'm in support of the moratorium as well, and thank you for the opportunity to speak and express my position.
Thank you. And Joe, did you want to say anything? Okay, anybody else?
People, when it's a public hearing, you don't have to be called from the audience like we're in class. You just get up and go to the microphone when there's no one.
Will you please give your name and address for the record?
And I'm glad you guys heard me say that. Pamela Darryle, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. In 2010, when the city attempted to establish this district, a lot of people came and they said no. It's not that people are preventing any type of progress in the city or not being progressive enough. This is about a quality of life issue. I agree with the pastor that said, go to the pharmacy, go to the hospital. You do not need to establish a district which could potentially drive down the value of people's houses. It has a very profound smell. You'll be able to know where it's at. And I just think that you guys have not done enough homework on this. I have all the paperwork that was in the council packet. There's really no benefit. You can't make any money from it. You're not even getting any money from the licensing. The state is getting it. So I'll ask the question, would you want it near your church? Would you want it in your backyard? Would you want it across the street from your son or daughter where they live? The answer would be no. So I'm asking people, I know there's a lot of you out in the audience that are against this. You need to get up and state your no on the record. And once again, people, at a public hearing, you do not have to be called out and pointed to and guided up to the microphone. When it's a public hearing, you get up and go, and you talk when you feel like it. Thank you.
Vote no.
Name and address for the record, please.
Mr. President, my name is Gerard Mullen. My address is Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Tonight, I am not here to speak for or against this request. Instead, I'd like to point out that this council has yet again screwed up another legal notice for a public hearing. This public hearing. To be precise, this council erroneously referred to the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act as PA 2008. I did a PA or Public Act search on the Michigan legislative website and found that in the entire 177-year history of the state of Michigan, there never ever was a PA 2008. But on November 4th, 2008, the voters of Michigan passed the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. It appears to me that this council suffers from dyslexia. I have in hand the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, and the Act refers to itself as the initiated law number 1 of 2008, and not PA 2008. In Michigan, PAs or public acts are acts passed by the state legislature, in contrast to initiated acts that are passed by the voters. It's that simple, fifth grade civics. In other words, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act is an initiative and not a public act or PA. In tonight's drafted ordinance, designated to be Section 5.179 of Article 19, you will find on page 2, 2 erroneous references to PA 2008, thus placing 2 errors into the Southfield City Code from the get-go. This shoddy ordinance needs to go back to the drafting board. Therefore, I suggest that you extend the moratorium past the January 5th deadline tonight, so that we'll have enough time to rewrite this ordinance.
Your time is up, Mr. Mullen. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Your name and address for the record, please.
David Ashaki, PO Box 3044, 48034. As to the act itself, I'm personally not for it. I would say it was the moratorium itself. But as to getting to the hands of children, it's all about the parents. The parents can step up, tell the children what's good, what's bad, actually have a conversation with them. Let them know that this is something that is going to move forward. Let them know that, same with prescription drugs. Keep the cats closed, keep them hidden, keep them put away. That's up to the parents of the community to watch over their children. But as for regulatory and regulating marijuana, it has gotten better. As you can see in Washington, Colorado, they regulate it. They made it where 18 and older walking the location. They haven't had a single incident to selling to a minor, single incident to selling to someone underage, single incident to selling someone who shouldn't be having it. But again, it's up to you guys to say, hey, it's time to make a change. The ball is rolling, there is no going backwards. But to actually address it now is a good method. So what I would say to the council, hold off on this. Come up with something better. Because right now, it doesn't work. But as for the actual Medical Marijuana Act, it's for the patient, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take it off the street and into a pharmacy or into a store. Same way CVS tells you, Vicodin, oxycodone. Those things actually kill people. If you look at the actual statistics, have you ever seen a related death to marijuana? No. For overdose on other prescription pills, you do. So this is something I would say, hey, regulate it, but it is getting better. You see more and more kids not using it, but leave it to the parents to address it with their children. Don't worry about it going into the street. That's your job as a citizen, to watch over your children, so it doesn't get into their hands. As for regulating it, do it the right way. Leave it open, and you can't limit the patients. It's just not enough.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Good evening.
Address for your record, please.
My name is Charlie Gilliam, precinct 18, elected, Southfield, Michigan. P.O. Box 2443, Southfield, Michigan. I won't hold you long, but what I'd like to say is, I just recently came back to Washington, D.C., and only time I can see cable is when I'm in a hotel, and I watch TV, and guess what they had on the Washington, D.C.? You're going to open up Pandora's box here. They had candy, looked like Hershey's, that they were showing it, that they're doing some of these, this stuff that you want to bring in. They had lollipops with stick on it, wrapped in cellophane. I know growing up, it's not going to use a lollipop. Who do you think that's for? You bring that here, you open up Pandora's box. I won't take a bunch of time. It makes it look like candy. That's not for grown-ups. Who do you think that's for? That's for our youth here. So I won't take a bunch of time. Do what you must do. Thank you.
Hold them out if they so forth.
Anyone else wish to speak? Kurt, Mr.
Hold them out. Hold them out.
Mrs. Katz, give me your name.
My name is Fern Katz. I live at 27065 Fairfax, Southfield. I've lived here for 34 years. I wish to speak in favor of medical marijuana. If you have sat, as I have, with friends who are dying and taking chemotherapy, you would know how beneficial this could be. And I see no problem with regulating it the same as other hard drugs and allowing people who really need this drug to get it. And I want you to consider that when you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Lee. Go ahead now, Ms. Lee. Yeah. Your name and address for the record, please.
In Fong Yi, I live at 20130 Winchester Drive in Southfield. Marijuana is not the devil here. Marijuana is the item. There's good with marijuana and there's bad in marijuana. And I agree with the pastor who says it should be regulated under hospital, whatever you call it, with people who know what it can do. I know people who have benefited from marijuana. I myself have tried it. It has its good qualities, it has its bad qualities. Because sometimes the pills that you take are worse than something that's a plant. However, the problem is not marijuana. It's cocaine and all the other recreational drugs that have come out. If you guys do not hold on to a moratorium and you go ahead with your new way to sort of, we're in the act and we're going to be good and all that, maybe something will come out of it. It's going to be a disaster. Please, 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 hold on to the moratorium. Do not be the pioneer who goes out there and says, we love you, and we're just going to open 4 little dispensaries right next to the 8-mile border, where there's a lot of other dispensaries. Do you think that that's all that's going to start? You are going to open up a big Pandora's box like another person spoke of, okay? I want to end with this. A very helpful person sent me to this and says that you're only limiting 12 ounces per patient, and if it
only have 5 policy papers. That isn't gonna work, it's just gonna be a drop in the bucket. Please, extend the moratorium so you know what you're doing. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, back there. Please give your name and address for the record.
My name is Abby Schumann, I live at 23656 Hunters Lane. I have a question, probably to the city attorney. Did the city council start looking at this preemptively? Is there any actual pressure on the council to be moving forward on this at this time? Or is it something that does not need to be acted on relative to, any state demands or any other kind of demands? So I have that as a question. Let me also say that I am also, like many people, a person who has had friends who died of cancer and had all sorts of problems and used marijuana, and it's made their life much more bearable. I'm not against the use of medical marijuana. My understanding is, and this of course isn't relevant to the city of Southfield per se, but my understanding is there are dispensaries around. It's not like there's nothing to be found in Oakland County or in Wayne County. I understand there are dispensaries. I believe I was told there are some even kind of along 8 Mile, not far from Southfield. So I don't want to be a not in my backyard kind of person, but I am anxious about having something come into the city that could cause more crime, could cost us more taxes if we have to have more police. We have a wonderful community here, and it's very anxiety-producing to think about any kind of change. So I'm not for this at this point, especially if there's no pressure on the city of Southfield for us to have to do anything.
I'll get your question answered. Thank you. We like close this public hearing. Your name and address for the record, please.
Terrence Franklin, 24580 Lord's Lane. It's such a good move tonight. Congratulations again to you too. I just want to give a record saying no. I have relatives who had cancer and had used marijuana, but I just think the city's also, the answer should be no.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let the records indicate there is no one else who wishes to speak. Mr. Lance?
Yeah, it's not closed, nobody's getting up to speak.
I didn't see it, okay. Give me your name and address for the record.
Joanne Wright, 17015 New Hampshire Drive, Southfield, Michigan, 48075. I just want to say no for the marijuana.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Mr. Lance? I close the public hearing, and Mr. Lance, and Jeremy, and Lance?
Yes. I am not for marijuana, but I am for medical marijuana. And I'll show you why. First, I'll show you pictures of the medical marijuana sold in the drugstores. Marijuana is available, but not the way they want to do it. I don't remember the council voting for marijuana in 208. They postponed it, but they didn't vote yes or no. I went to the drugstores, I took pictures, just to show you what medical marijuana would look like if your doctor gives you a prescription. And that's the way to go. Now I'm going to show you a business on 8 Mile that controls the sin marijuana. You walk into this store, you order it, you pay for it, and it comes in delivered. When it's delivered, they call the marijuana user, and he picks it up. And this has been going on for years and years and years. Southfield and the rest of the cities around here are already becoming sin cities. And if we vote for this, we're going to have the sin city within the next year. Now I'll tell you why. Two years ago, I was invited to visit a marijuana grower in our community, right under our eyes of Lebanon and Larsen. There was a marijuana setup there. The front business was a massage parlor. In the back was the marijuana. I went in there, and I saw about 1,000 plants growing there with the lights and everything. And some people were there. The owner was so happy to see me. He knew who I was. He thought I'm a patsy for him to talk to and help him. He was greatly mistaken. He came out and he showed me the application for the people who care for the others. And this is the application you have to fill out to obtain the 4 or 5 ounces they used to get allowed. Remember that time? Well, he was so overjoyed with me being there, he went to the back and he came out with 500 applications. I asked him where he got it. I said, did you get it from the Board of Health, the only ones allowed to sell that? No. He got the 500 from a big official of the government. They must have been phony, but he was getting $100 a piece for it. Now, what does that tell you? A sin city. He was going to have people come in and buy it, and he had the customers. And if he bought 500, he knew he can sell 500 to 500 people who sell marijuana on the street and use it, and they go further than that. Now, we didn't vote for marijuana until we only put a moratorium on it. Is that right? Yeah. Why are you jumping the gun and building a facility when we didn't vote for the marijuana yet? Why are you jumping the gun? Why are you building 2 now, or you're going to put 4 to distribute medical marijuana? Can anybody answer me? Why? You're the leader. Tell me why.
I need a question again. Put your hands. I didn't hear you. What was the question that you would like to have answered? Why? Right?
Why are we building these 4 facilities?
You want to take that on, Sue?
I think there's a lot of comments that I would have. Number one, Southfield is not permitting medical marijuana. The state already does this. This is not something that we're putting forward to now allow in the city. The state has already allowed it. That's a done deal.
The voters.
That's right, the voters. And what we're trying to do is regulate the zoning districts within which the actual caregivers and the qualifying patients can exchange, can grow, and can have the marijuana transferred to the person. So we're not building a facility. We are simply saying where is an appropriate land use in the city of Southfield for a caregiver to transfer the medical marijuana under the existing state law. All of these restrictions in terms of the number of plants, the number of qualifying patients that a caregiver can serve, all of those are established by state law. And the only thing we're doing is trying to establish what is the appropriate zoning district for this to occur. The ordinance itself, the proposed zoning ordinance, does not allow dispensaries. It does not allow somebody to just go into any type of facility and just put money down and everybody goes in there and buys their marijuana. A caregiver can have no more than 5 qualifying patients. There has to be a bona fide doctor-patient relationship that exists between the caregiver and the qualifying patient. Again, all of that is dictated by state law. And we're simply, the proposed zoning ordinance here is just that. Where in the city, in the zoning districts that we currently have, where would those uses that are already permitted by state law, where would those uses be most appropriately directed? And so, Mr. Lynch, we're not building anything here. We're not building any number of anything. We're just simply saying, where is the appropriate zoning district for that activity to occur?
Okay. I just told you a story of this marijuana grower buying 500 applications.
Well,
and to get marijuana.
Your 1,000 plants would be violative of state law because a caregiver can only grow 12 plants per qualifying patient, and he or she can only have 5 qualifying patients, plus him or herself. So the maximum is like 72 plants that a caregiver could grow. So if there was a 1,000 plant operation, that's violation of the state law.
That's not the answer that I'm looking for. I agree that those people are allowed to buy and come out to the marijuana. But what is this guy going to do with 500 applications? He's not going to sell it to his caregivers. He's going to give it to the people that will find out that he has marijuana, and they'll get $100 for it.
Well, I think your question then goes to, if somebody's selling these licensing under the state law, are they selling those? Again, the state law requires that there be a bona fide doctor-patient relationship. If somebody is selling those medical marijuana prescriptions or licensing certifications, that would be illegal under the state law.
I don't disagree with you on that. But you don't think that marijuana will be sold under the black market or something? You don't think so? I think so.
Is it conceivable? But again, those are state laws. That's not something that we came up. We didn't come up with the restrictions and how many patients and how many plants and is there going to be a black market for the. We did not establish that.
Well,
those are already in place by the state because the state of Michigan has set the parameters. All we're trying to do is say where would this activity in the city be most appropriately placed.
So, who was the state of Michigan? The Senate and the House, correct?
This was an initiative by the people. In 2008, 60-something% of the people of the state of Michigan voted for medical marijuana.
They didn't know what they were voting for.
You may be right.
You know the House was wrong, and now all of a sudden they corrected the law and you can do anything you want with it. I don't believe that. I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to be a sin city within a year. I know, I have to prove. This guy alone monopolizes the whole marijuana trade in Southfield and the other cities surrounding.
Well, they should be investigated by our police department if they're growing 1,000 plants or 500 plants. And that would be
investigated by the police department?
Absolutely.
They don't know where they are. Well, allegedly. But they're selling it. I took the pictures, I went in there, and I was going to order 12 ounces of marijuana, but I didn't. I just wanted to find out the system. He's making a mint, a gold mine, and he's ruining our cities with the environment of today and the bad things that are happening to us. What's going to happen once we start marijuana in Southfield? Well, I'm against it, and I predict what's going to happen. I have to be a visionary. The only one of this council is a visionary. You know what's going to happen. They don't believe that. They will find out whether I'll be here or not. But I don't think you should, I think you should still, again, postpone it until we have more information.
Mr. Morris?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few questions. There's a lot of confusion about this. I have a few questions to our city attorney that hopefully can clear some stuff up. The moratorium. We can't have a moratorium on something from now until forever. I'm surprised that we were able to have this moratorium for the last 6 years.
I would agree, because what we did through the use of the moratorium, we banned a specific activity or use anywhere in our city. And that activity or use is lawful under state law.
Somebody could have challenged it at any time. I mean, I've been on council, we've passed this moratorium, I don't know how many times over the last 3 years. I'm surprised it hasn't been challenged up until this point. We have to act, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to make a decision one way or another. So I totally disagree with the approach of extending this moratorium. If you're not for it, I'm okay with you voting it down, but I certainly don't agree with the approach of extending this moratorium from now until infinity. Can we talk about if we did nothing, if we said, we're not going to enact the local ordinance, what does the situation allow for, given that it was passed by the voters and there are restrictions that came down from Lansing? And then on the opposite end, can you explain what is the most restrictive thing a city can do legally, given these local cases that have gone into the court system? So can you talk about the two extremes and where Southfield falls in that line?
Well, obviously, some communities have taken the first scenario that you posed, which is do nothing. If a city does nothing, then this is lawful activity under state law, and it could occur anywhere. In a residential district, in a commercial district, in a office service, anywhere near a school, it could occur anywhere because it is lawful under the state law. So again, the proposal here is to say, under our zoning authority, under Michigan law, does the council want to say that we don't want it occurring in every district in the city? We think it's appropriate in certain districts to negate any kind of influence on maybe commercial uses, residential uses, school uses, and that's the question before this council. Your second question is, obviously zoning authority is given deference to the local unit of government. And so the deference is for this council to decide where is the most appropriate. Obviously, the state law in general is not going to support outlawing it under a zoning authority and saying it can't exist anywhere in the city.
You can't zone it out.
You generally can't. There's a little bit of wiggle room under state law, but in general, that is a pretty widely accepted concept, that you have to exercise that discretion reasonably. And reasonably would be, certainly there would be somewhere in the city for almost every use that's out there. And again, what would our basis here be to say that we're going to zone it out of the city and say it's better left to south of 8 Mile or it's better left somewhere else? Again, the voters of Southfield, on the same basis as the state, approved this measure in 2008. And so we're just simply putting before council, is there an area, is there a zoning district that you feel is more appropriate, that the lawful use under state law, that it should be undertaken? And that's really the only question.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to be able to kind of pose similar questions to our city planner for a response.
Thank you for the chair. Just to piggyback on the city attorney, if council recalls, we took a similar approach with alternative financial institutions. We said that we have to have our fair share or meet our reasonable test. And we limited them to very specific districts with very specific parameters that have to be met. And should the council decide to regulate under zoning as proposed, it does not just allow people to open this up. A special land use application is required, which requires planning commission public hearing, city council public hearing, and there are strict tests on a case-by-case basis. So each time an application would be presented in the future to the city, the council would have the ability to vote either yes or no based on a public hearing of that specific site and all the other requirements. So this is just putting the regulations in place, but the council would still have the opportunity to review on a case-by-case basis after public hearing to either approve or disapprove on whether they meet the regulations as proposed.
Actually, that's a really good point. So if we pass this ordinance as written, 0 people can continue to operate in Southfield because we haven't had a case that comes to the city that we're reviewing. So if we approve this moratorium, or if we approve of getting rid of the moratorium and approve of this ordinance, there are still 0 operators in the city of Southfield that are able to legally and lawfully sell medical marijuana, right?
They would have to come in and fill out a special use application and start the process for a special use in this district.
And we could deny it for whatever reason.
The standards of a special use are set forth in that zoning district, and the council would have to feel that this use, as a special use, met the standards of the ordinance.
One last question. It's been mentioned, why don't we just have it in pharmacies and hospitals?
Yes.
Can you address that?
Well, right now, the state law allows it anywhere.
Yep.
So, I mean, again, if we feel that maybe we should be pushing Lansing then, maybe there needs to be some change at the state level to say where this should be sold. But right now, it can be sold as long as this caregiver qualifying patient relationship is met and the number of plants are met and all of the parameters of the state law are complied with, it can be sold anywhere.
So we can zone and put pressure on any person who comes in here to apply for a license to run this operation like a hospital or like a pharmacy. You know, this isn't going to open up on the corner store and just, you know, be a free-for-all. We can, on an individual basis, make sure that we code them into operating as if it were a pharmacy, correct?
And again, really less than a pharmacy, because in a pharmacy, it's open to the general public to come in and you know, exchange, you know, and actually obtain their pharmaceutical. This is going to be 5 patients.
Right.
That's it. 5 qualifying patients coming to a location.
For all those reasons, I'm voting for this.
Mr. President, can I address a point that Mr. Moss brought up? And that is about the hospitals and pharmacies. I can't answer for the hospitals, but I did ask my pharmacist, why wouldn't we have the pharmacy sell them? His answer was, this is still a Class 1 drug. Regardless of what the state does, it's still controlled by the federal government. If the pharmacy started to sell it, the federal government could come and put them out of business because they control over the state. So that's why pharmacies are going to do it. It's until the federal law changes so that it's less than a Class 1 drug, so that it could be sold in pharmacies. I don't think any pharmacy would touch it. And I would imagine the hospitals are the same way. Thank you.
Mr. Lance, just wait a minute. I'll get back to you.
Yep.
Mr. Cyber?
Right.
Terry, excuse me one minute. Terry wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Again, I wanted to reiterate that these aren't dispensaries and they're not open to the public. These are growing facilities under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act for a primary caregiver to no more than 5 registered patients. And this is, again, to limit the location to a specific zoning district and not have it open-ended. The sale and growing of illegal marijuana is still controlled by the police department and still enforced by the police department. So this is a facility that's narrowly defined by the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. Again, it's not a dispensary and it's not open to the general public.
Mr. Cyber?
Right.
Really what we have here is a very intelligent approach that severely restricts these facilities. There are no signs, there are no displays, it's limited to 5 people. And I just want to clear up that, I think there's some misconceptions that this is not Colorado, this is not Washington, where they have vending machines and marijuana candy and all that kind of stuff. This recognizes that there is a state law. It also recognizes that there's a legitimate need. I have a family member with cancer that just racked her body for 3 years, and marijuana tea was delivered her from some of her agony before she died. And that's the compassionate part of this. I heard from a number of people over the last week, and they're sort of all over the place. Those that, why do we have to have it at all? And I don't approve of what the council's proposing or what's been proposed because it's too restrictive. There are a lot of people in this community that need this, and you're making them go. And again, Google marijuana dispensaries, and that's not what we're talking about. But just Google that, and you can get something that comes up on the screen called Marijuana Map, and it shows you all of the places that, under state law, are legitimately selling medical marijuana. It's real. But the beauty of what is proposed here is it is so restrictive that there are 4 locations. They happen to be in industrial parks. And honestly, I don't believe that you could afford to open one. If you have 5 patients, how can you pay a light bill? How can you pay rent? How can you pay any other utility to have this facility? That's the beauty of this ordinance. It is so restrictive. We're meeting the requirement of the law. We're not saying no. We protect ourselves from being sued because it is legal, and someone could sue the city for denying the right to have a facility. But at the same time, we've made it pretty damn hard for anybody to proceed with this. And again, I agree with Mr. Frazier. If I had my druthers, you take your prescription and you go to CVS or Rite Aid or Walgreens and get the medical marijuana. But that's not where we're at, and yet there is a need. I appreciate what Ms. Schumann had to say and Mr. Schwartz about, do we really need to act? I mean, we have put this off and put this off and put this off. It's at least 3 years. I mean, remember, this was passed over 6 years ago. So we've kind of beat this back, and I just think we're at a point where we've got to do something. And I don't want a facility next door to my house, just as I don't want any other business in a residential neighborhood. I don't want people driving up for a facility like this in a neighborhood. So this puts it in 2 very restrictive, out of sight. You have to drive into both of these parks, commercial parks, to get there. And again, I just don't think there can't be a sign. There has to be a security system. It's limited to 5 people, and there are no displays. The product can't be out in the open. I just don't think that it's going to be feasible for anybody to pursue this here. So, to me, this is the most intelligent way to approach this. We meet the spirit of the law, but we've made it very difficult for someone to operate a facility. Thank you.
Mrs. Jordan? Sure, I have a few questions. Ms. Ward, can you explain again why we cannot have a moratorium, which is what I asked about a week ago? Why can't we continue the moratorium?
The moratorium, in essence, has excluded from every zoning district in the city the use, the actual distribution of medical marijuana. The state law allows a caregiver to grow and distribute medical marijuana to 5 qualifying patients. So it's legal under state law, and yet by our moratorium, we have excluded that from being allowed anywhere in the city, which is contrary to the Zoning Enabling Act in most instances. To ban a lawful use anywhere in the city is problematic under the Zoning Enabling Act. The job is to place activities in the best districts that the council can determine so that there won't be negative consequences to neighborhoods or retail or wherever you feel that there could be negative consequences. But the problem with the moratorium is that it bans it anywhere in the city. It bans a lawful use anywhere in the city. While we were watching how the courts were going to interpret the law, and while we were watching other cities and how they dealt with this, I think it was appropriate to have the moratorium in place, because we didn't want to just jump in, and we wanted to study it, we wanted to see how the court, so I think at this point, the Michigan Supreme Court has spoken here. You know, you could wait, I mean, I know that presently there's a bill in the legislature that will expressly give cities the right to ban the dispensary. You know, we've already gone that step here. We said in our zoning ordinance that we're going to ban dispensaries. But the need to wait for further clarification, I think that legitimately is in question at this point. And the continued banning of a lawful activity in any zoning district in the city does call into question our authority under the Zoning Enabling Act.
So have all communities, all other communities in the state put something in place?
I would say that they're moving in that direction. Some cities have, going back to when it first was passed, they've allowed it as like a whole occupation. They put it in residential neighborhoods, figuring that would be less intrusive because, you know, you're only talking 5 patients. So a lot of cities have taken a lot of different approaches. Some cities have not done zoning ordinances, they've only done licensing ordinances. So that, you know, the city has the right to go in and look at the facility and make sure that the electrical is okay and the plumbing and all of those kind of police power kinds of things for the city, and make sure that, you know, there's not going to be an electric irregularity and then the place burns. So I think cities have taken different approaches. Zoning is one approach. And it was an approach that I think between the planning department and our office, we said that it would be reasonable for the city to look at where these are appropriately placed. We have talked about a licensing ordinance to accompany this, just as we did with the hookah bars, so that, you know, the city would make sure that we look at the facility and make sure that the electrical is up to date and that it passes code. And so that could be ancillary, and we're still looking at bringing that to council. But the first step we thought was, where is it appropriate for this type of activity to occur? And so that's why this ordinance is in front of you. To finally say that it is allowed in the city. We're not in violation of the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. We are providing a place in the city where the effects in the council's determination would not be detrimental to residential, to commercial, to office, to schools, to religious institutions, and that's the question that's on the table. Where is the appropriate use for these?
Okay, and just one last question to the city planner. Have we had any petitioners that have come to us asking to have their facilities opened here?
We have not received any formal application today.
All right, thank you.
With
Sir,
regard
it's
to,
good to see you.
yes, can you wait 1 minute? I want to get to Mr. Frazier.
Sure.
And you next.
I have just a few questions. Some of the residents that came to the microphone were concerned about the limited amount of patients that each one of the places could handle, push this by. And they were saying there are infinitely more people in the city that could be patients than what would be allowed here. this doesn't restrict people from growing their own in their own houses.
It is not for their own use.
For their own use.
If they have a medical marijuana card and they wanted to grow their own in their own home for their own use, not for distribution to, and they're not a caregiver, this would not preclude that.
Okay, so this really is for those folks that can't or don't want to grow it in their own home, have another place to go to have it grown for them.
Correct.
And they have to, and it's limited to 5 people.
Correct.
Now,
About qualifying patients.
yeah, now am I right or wrong that they're not supposed to, the people that run these, the caregivers aren't supposed to be making money on it?
That's correct. I mean, again, this is all governed by state law. The state law says that a caregiver who is going to sell to the qualifying patient can only recover his or her costs. So there would be such things as presumably rent for the space, electricity, water, but it's to cover your expense. It's not to be a marijuana dealer and make money. And so again, the state law doesn't permit somebody to be truly a marijuana dealer and make a profit. This is to cover expenses.
Right. Secondly, now if someone takes our ordinance and studies our ordinance, follows all of the requirements of our ordinance, comes in and asks for a permit to open up a caregiving location, can we still deny that person?
Well, you would have to examine the request under the standards that are set forth in the zoning ordinance for that district.
Yes.
And if you went through and looked at the some of the standards in general, the detrimental effects on the adjoining properties and the standards that are set forth here, if you found that those standards have been met in your determination, then there would be an approval. If you found for some reason that based on this application before us, that there is some problem with the standards that are set forth, you would have a right to deny that special use request.
The point that I'm trying to make is, we can't write the rules, and then when somebody follows our rules, still tell them no, they can't do it.
If they meet all of the requirements, I would agree with that, yes, I would agree with that.
So if the general public knows that there's an item on our agenda, and when they come in and they have a public hearing, and our planner says they met every one of our requirements, we recommend that they have permission to open up their business. We can't say no.
I agree with you. If you felt that all of the standards have been met, right.
Okay.
Right.
And the other point that I'd like to make is, when X-rated movies first came out, there was the same kind of concern in the community that we were going in the wrong direction by allowing X-rated movies. The same philosophy that we're using on this is a philosophy that was used by our attorney at that point on controlling where X-rated movies could go in. We never had it. It was just too difficult for them to open up a movie theater in the area to make any money, so we just didn't have it. So I think this process works for what we're trying to accomplish. That's it.
Mayor, I have a question through the chair. Has any city passed an ordinance which would ban the medical marijuana?
Right, that was in essence, Wyoming had, city of Wyoming, Livonia had, there were several cities that simply said, we ban in all zoning districts any use which is violative of federal law. And since marijuana is in violation of the Controlled Substances Act on the national level, then it's banned everywhere in the city. And that's what the Supreme Court said, no, cities, you cannot use that, and they went through a whole analysis. But at the end of the case, they found that the Controlled Substances Act did not permit a city to ban medical marijuana in all zoning districts. It said that the state law preempted the local ordinance, and that's what we're left with.
Because people voted them.
Well, people voted for it,
Yeah.
that's right, that's right.
Well, there's still the issue of it being federal law. And a person can still be arrested for violating federal law, right?
My understanding of what the federal attorney, the United States Attorney General's office has said on this is that in states that allow medical marijuana, they are not actively going to pursue caregivers and qualifying patients who are acting under the medical marijuana provisions of the state law. That is not something that they're actively pursuing. So again, I think it is problematic. How do these two things mesh? How does the federal law that would still say, no, it's a controlled substance, Schedule I, and it's not permitted, versus a state law that says it is permitted? And so ultimately, it would be good if the federal law and the state law could be more consistent. But I think that the way that, as a practical matter, they work this out is that the federal government does not appear to be actively pursuing those states where there's medical marijuana and there's a system in place like what the state of Michigan has set up.
In this ordinance, can multiple caregivers be in one location?
They would have to be in a separate location that was permitted.
Council President, in theory, there's a possibility they could be in the same building, but they have to meet the separation requirements from all the other prohibitions, 500 feet from residential and so forth. If the building was big enough and they met all of the exterior requirements, they would still have to be 250 feet away from each other inside. And you can't have co-use of a facility by more than one primary caregiver. So in theory, there is the ability, if the building was big enough and met all that, but the practicality is probably not.
Who polices this? And I just want to say for the record, if any elected official walks into any facility where this law is being broken, they are required and duly noted to report that to the police. So if there's anyone in our city that has a growing factory in their home to break the law, they should be reported to the police. So with that being said, if we pass this and we pass on, that person comes and they meet all the requirements of the ordinance, we would have no grounds to deny them, correct?
If they met all of the requirements, correct, and all the standards of the special use, correct. But again, continuing review and inspection of these facilities would be appropriate to know that they don't have more than 5 qualifying patients. They're not growing more than 12 plants per qualified patient. So I think that there still is a regulatory aspect for the police department to make sure that the provisions of the state law are being complied with.
So through the chair to the city administrator, have we analyzed what impact this would have on our police department and how do we actually enforce it?
I know this is on the police department's radar screen, but as the licensing requirements are put together, then we'll go through that analytic to see what type of cost this is going to create for us. This is that thing that it does challenge our staffing levels, but we'll look to build something within the licensing that there are points and checks that the entities driving or creating the cost will somehow be charged for.
I can appreciate how restrictive this is. However, at the end of the day, it's not restrictive if we're not actively enforcing and regulating it. And so if the ordinance is passed without that process that the council can really validate that what we want is a restrictive ordinance, we have to have in place the ability to enforce it. If not, as you know, it'll grow to a point where it becomes a black eye for the city.
I believe the department's prepared to respond in whatever.
Well, I would think they should respond before the ordinance is passed. That's the way I see it. I can appreciate how restrictive it is, but to me, it's not comprehensive enough. And I would ask the council to really get that before they vote on it, because to me, that's my concern. My concern is that if we do have, as our attorney advised us, an opportunity to be in compliance, but to have it restricted, so we do have expectations in the city, we do have certain outcomes, but we haven't been given, what is that process, what are the tools, are we funded to police it, and how do you police it, how are other communities doing it? And that's the piece that I would think that should be a part of this ordinance, that we should have that.
Mr. Lance? Yes, to the city attorney, is this a mandate from the state that we have to obey this?
Yes, the city has to obey state law, and that's, again, that state law is in effect. That state law is in effect. So yes, we have to abide by state law.
Okay, how about the federal law? Why doesn't the city obey the federal law?
Well, again, the Michigan Supreme Court decided that for us.
So who is the Michigan Supreme Court? A bunch of men, women, making a law?
Well,
telling the sovereign city government what to do?
They interpret the law. And they interpreted the conflict between the federal law and a city's attempt to outright ban medical marijuana. And that is the Turvey case.
All right. Let me tell you what I observed. I want to tell everybody what I get mail from the Senate, from the House, the State House, and I read some of the laws that the members bring up. And I read some of them. You know what I was reading? A 10-year-old boy writing the law. I couldn't interpret anything that was on there. Then I wondered, how do these senators and representatives how do they vote for a law that, well, I don't understand it. I'm not stupid. Maybe I'm dumb. I don't know. But to me, a 10-year-old boy wrote those laws. And sometimes you should read some of that stuff. Then you understand why they made this marijuana law and brought it down to us. Made a bunch of fool out of the people. They voted for it. Wow. For a country.
Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Schreiber?
Something the mayor just said, I'd like to talk a little bit about. Wouldn't it be better, we're having a step 2 on this, correct, with licensing?
Correct.
So wouldn't it be better to have that in place first before we approve the ordinance?
Well, we were trying to establish the zoning district, where it would be permitted, and then the licensing would know what the zoning district is. But I agree. And the mayor's point to make sure that we're ready for the enforcement in terms of our police department, the only thing I would say is council did want to see both of those, together and have the background from the police department and how they would respond to this. And if we did decide to postpone this, it's fine as long as we do some kind of short-term extension on a moratorium, just so that we're covered for that purpose. So, that's acceptable as well. And then we could get the police department to kind of talk about how would they view, inspection, and how would they make sure that the requirements of the ordinance are met.
I'm also thinking about, this is going to require building department inspections.
Fire department?
And fire department. There are fees associated with those. These people just can't open a facility. We we certainly should make sure that our fees are appropriate for the labor of city staff to go out and review these requirements. There are a whole number just on security alone. They all have to have security systems. I was also thinking it might be helpful, and either the city planner or the city attorney, especially for council and the audience, to find the difference between a facility as we're proposing it and a dispensary, because we're not using the word dispensary. So we have that.
Do you want that tonight or a stab at it?
No, if you're not prepared, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I get the sense from listening, from the people who have contacted me before this evening, as well as the people in the audience, that, there's going to be a shop and a cash register is going to be ringing out sales, and anybody can go in there, and I've done my best to try to explain it to people that, again, I think this is so prohibitive. And matter of fact, there were people that contacted me and said, you have no compassion for people who have a legitimate need. This is so restrictive that you're driving people out of the community. So, I respect Reverend Locke and others who spoke on their positions, but I really think that what we're trying to do here is make it so difficult. I just can't imagine someone renting a square footage in an industrial park, and having to pay lights and water and just the cost of growing marijuana for five patients, 72 plants. I just can't see how that. You can't make a profit, but how do you pay for that? It has to be a charity operation.
Well, and again, I think that the state also, that was a compassionate care basis for the law and for the initiative. And so I got a medical marijuana facility is designed solely for the transactions between a caregiver and the 5 qualified patients. That's it. A dispensary, to me, suggests, you get your card from the state, and you just, anybody walks in and puts their card down and says, give me however many ounces, and you pay your money and you walk out. That's such a different operation than what we've talked about in terms of a medical marijuana facility.
We're not going to have a dispensary.
We specifically state in the ordinance that dispensaries are not permitted, that only a medical marijuana facility, and I think the planner wants to jump in, but.
If I could, through the chair.
Yes, Jerry.
Again, our current moratorium ends up January 5th. And we were directed by council to bring back regulations for consideration. And part of that process is to have a public hearing. I think there's been some good issues raised tonight. And I agree with the attorney. I think a short-term, again, 90-day moratorium would be appropriate for us to further study the licensing and get additional input, and to follow up on some of the questions that have been raised tonight. And again, it's moving towards something based on our requirements of limiting it to a specific zoning district. So I think that, at least from the planner's perspective, I think within 90 days we could come back with the licensing and get additional input and have further study.
And also have the police department weigh in.
Of course.
Mr. Chair, I move a 90-day postponement.
For support?
Support.
Moved by Mr. Cybert, supported by Mr. Frazier. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Nay.
Will you please call a roll, Madam Clerk?
May I ask a question before we take the vote?
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah. In this ordinance, and we're only doing land use, but in the caregiver's facility, they're not allowed to convert marijuana into other products, are they?
That's correct. It is solely to transact the marijuana to qualifying patients.
I just want people to know that they aren't making lollipops and
Right, absolutely,
and
absolutely.
brownies and,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you.
Can I clarify too, is the motion to postpone the decision on this and also to extend the moratorium for a life period
Yeah,
for 90 days?
90 days.
From January 5th.
yes.
And do we want to talk about what areas we would like to have looked at? In other words, when I looked at, for example, Mr. Freed, I looked at back when I was on the drug task force, they talked about how much money it would take to fund certain things that they would run into with people who were using drugs. And that figure was around $136,000 for the city just to enforce it, and that was back 1970. And really look at the cost of fire and police, all these other things that are included. I'd like to know. I think that mayor's right, that they're going to have to have some kind of task force set up, even at first, to find all these illegals that are operating in the city and close them down, and find them or something, and then try to find out where you're going to go from there. I personally am not for any marijuana use whatsoever, and I looked just recently when that last election, when the garbage truck dragged a lady a whole block in the neighboring city, and people still voted 62% on the ballot in favor of marijuana. They found marijuana and the guys left. And last night and night before, they had the kids that were wrapped their car around a tree, and I think there were 5 in the car, and I think 1 is dead now, and 3 are in danger of losing their lives, and they found marijuana in the seat of that car. And I just really, I hear of all the things that are out there to assist people who are suffering, but I just don't see personally how we're going to handle all the young people who are using the drugs, and we have to rehabilitate them and the cost of doing that. And I know I'm just venting, but boy, I have a hard time with these drugs and the use on young people. And you talk about educating and getting them jobs, and if they're on drugs, they're not going to get educated. And number 2, nobody's going to hire them. So how are we really moving these kids out of where they're at to a good future? And that's a big concern of mine. But anyways,
I think that what we can do is we can act on what we're on the table right now, which is to postpone action on this and extend the moratorium for 90 days past January the 5th, and then give our city administrator directions on what we'd like them to study and come back to us.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Thank you.
The yes would be to do a moratorium for 90 days and send it back for relook.
And to postpone the decision.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
No, and I have to make one additional comment from this discussion that I'm hearing. If anybody thinks that this, bringing this forward in our community is somehow going to encourage illegal selling of marijuana is happening today, it's happening tomorrow, it's happening yesterday, it happened 40 years ago, and we have the police department already on notice about that. So I really don't think that this is going to exacerbate a problem that already exists and will exist from now until the end of time.
Mr. Lance? No.
You don't want to moratorium? You do not want to moratorium? Okay.
Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Katz?
Yes.
Okay, we've got 4 in favor and 2 against, so the motion has passed.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda would be communications, and we have Anthony Rogan. Anthony Rogan, are you here?
Here.
Okay, Jared Dillon? Your address, please, name and address.
Mr. President, my name is Gerard Mullen, a.k.a. White Noise. My address is Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Tonight, I'd like to ask through the chair, Councilman Moss, 3 questions. These 3 questions are based on one statement that you, Mr. Moss, made here in these very chambers in the year 2012. Quote, "This is a damn good city," unquote. Question number 1, Mr. Moss. If this be the case, that this is a damn good city, why then is the majority of the city workers non-residents? Residency of city workers is the best litmus test for damn goodness that I know of. A score of less than 50% is a failed grade on anyone's bell curve, even at MSU. Question number 2, Mr. Moss. If this be such a damn good city, why the best and brightest city employees, along with the most loyal and committed longtime city residents, fleeing across the border, the Eastern border, into Farmington Hills, that gem of a city across the street from Pencil Park? Question number 3, Mr. Moss. If this be such a damn good city, why does the current city administrator reside downriver in Taylor? Why, Mr. Moss? Why? Thank you, Mr. President.
Ken Madero?
It was brought up for, I don't know, how many months now, to expand or amend the Elliot Larsen Act to protect or put protections in place to that Civil Rights Act, race, color, creed, origin, and also for sexual orientation. It should be noted that this initiative failed in the Michigan House of Representatives. So you got all of these other surrounding communities, like Lakewood Village or Low Farmington Hills, that are putting things in place to just ensure fairness to all people, whether you agree with it, whether it's your spiritual preference or what have you. Now, Southfield boasts about being the all-American city. Southfield boasts about being the most diverse city. Southfield even purports sometimes that they are visionary and like to do things first. Why has this item not been put on the agenda? Why has this item not been put out for discussion? And why is Southfield not taking a more active and visionary and creative approach to put this in place? Remember, it's not personal. It's business. And it's all about the business of all the residents, whether you agree or not. So I'm asking that question, and if anybody is bold enough to respond or comment, you have 60 seconds. Seconds. Your time is up, so I guess nobody is bold enough to respond to that. Make my day or my night.
Mrs. English, here, Steph English. Yep.
Hi everyone, Stephanie English,
24011 Wild Brook Court, Southfield 48034. I didn't know what Pam was going to speak on today. I was coming to the podium to speak on the same thing. However, I decided to be a little more proactive. I am planning to try to influence you throughout 2015 to expand the Elliot Larsen Act. But I would like to describe my evening prior to me coming to the meeting. I know from having a lot of expertise in sales that a lot of decision makers do not work 9 to 5. So at 7:15 p.m., I contacted the constituent line at Rick Snyder's office, and they answered the phone. I did advise them that the Elliot Larsen, and I approached it, I need help. His administrative assistant, Caitlin, answered the phone, and for 23 minutes, I was able to tell her about what's happening here in Southfield. I described the picture that we have Republicans and Democrats on the council, and that at this particular time, I felt that the agenda piece was never going to come forward to expand this. So I invited Rich Snyder to come to Southfield to see if he would be able to influence the majority council members to expand this act. He supports the Elliot Larsen expansion. I told him how our meetings are governed. I was instructed to send the 2015 council agenda meeting and also write a formal letter to actually have in hand. Caitlin also took my address and telephone number and asked if I would like to be part of his consortium of constituents who is going to be also advocating the expansion of the Elliot Larsen Act. I'm here to just say that I support discrimination in all forms. I think the situation in Ferguson just lets us know that racism does exist. Sometimes flawed legal processes exist. Also, too, that there still is a covert and overt prejudice against the LGBT community. Also, too, I asked Caitlin, and also, too, I was put on hold, and then I was put on a speakerphone. And I know that top leaders, like you said, they don't go home at 5 o'clock. They could still be there at 9. So I continue expressing my wishes and hopes that Rick Snyder will veto the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that will be coming forward on his desk. The act has passed through the House. It probably will pass through the majority Republican Senate, but he has veto power for this act. But I respectfully say to the Republican influences and also the religious influence, we do have a person here that belongs or is first administrator, first lady of her church, and she may just not feel comfortable bringing the agenda piece forward that Mayor Lawrence and Jeremy Moss introduced last spring. I don't like that the agenda or the power of the president to omit a piece of dialogue, having the power to set it on the agenda or not to set it on the agenda. I don't think that's fair. It's not transparent. Just at least have the dialogue. But I'm hoping that you'll entertain Governor Snyder if he responds to my request for help on this issue. And I did think, I will hope that you would not have him speak last, but maybe he can speak first.
I do need to clarify something with English. When the council discussed that matter last year, or earlier this year, it went to the legislative committee, and then it went to our city attorney, and it never came forward from that point. So it never got to, I never made a decision not to bring it forth, but it never came forth. It was still being worked on. Is that correct?
It is done. I mean, there is a draft that we put together, and it was ready at any point for anyone to say it.
Well, it never moved forward from your office, so I can't say that I stopped it. I did not stop it, and there are other people that could have brought it forth. So I'm not going to sit here to take the brunt of that not moving forward. Thank you.
Let's move on. Council, we have such report of Myron Frazier.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Moved by Mr. Cyrus, supported by Mr. Moss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes, nays, motion carries. Myron Frazier, expense report, National League of Cities.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Cyrus, supported by Mr. Moss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion carries. Expense report of Jeremy Moss, National League of Cities.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Frazier, supported by Mr. Stiver. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays. Motion carries.
I abstain from that vote.
Let the record indicate that Mr. Moss is abstaining. Bench report of Mr. Stiver. Also for the National League of Cities.
I move that it be approved.
I'll support.
It's moved by Mr. Frazier, supported by Mr. Moss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And nays.
I abstain.
Motion carried, with Mr. Stiver abstaining. Anything, council, would you like to, actually, nobody wants to talk?
Yeah, sure.
You want to talk before, after Mr. Moss?
Well, I know I'll be briefer.
Yeah,
Oh, you can say that.
I'm going to take Mr. Stiver first.
That's fine.
I just wanted to briefly comment on two things that have happened since our last meeting. A number of us went to the 1-800 law firm. This is the third ribbon cutting company. They are as green can be. First of all, they've done the first ribbon cutting had to do with opening the offices, converting a building that was in very bad shape at Northwestern Service Drive in Washer. Destroyed that building, put in double pane glass, replaced the exterior of the building as an energy conservation measure. We went out, it was a windy day, but a number of us went up on the roof, and there are solar panels all across the roof, as well as wind turbines, perhaps you've seen them. Also they put in carports with solar panels on top and charging stations below. I just think that, this company needs to be applauded for their efforts at green technology and putting the capital into this, as well as securing a PACE loan to provide the financing for this. And secondly, last week, and I really want to salute the Southfield Police Department. Last week they held their cop with a coffee, or coffee with a cop rather, at Tim Hortons, thank you, at 12 and Greenfield. No speeches, no presentations, just come in and the department was well represented. And it was supposed to be from 4 to 6. I finally left at 6:30, and people were still there. It was a huge success. And, we talk about, we're all concerned with what has happened in Ferguson. And I think that one of the hallmarks of our police department here is that we have community policing officers. We have officers in the public schools. They're putting a face on the police department, a human face. And when you know one another, you're less likely to castigate people or point fingers. It's understanding one another. And this coffee with a cop was just superb. I took pictures of people huddled around one of our police officers, just sharing things that they're hearing as concerns in their neighborhood. We're asking questions about how our police department operates. It was fantastic. And I know they're going to do it again. This was the first effort, but it goes a long way to making our policemen, they're policing our community, keeping us safe, but also they're relating to us as people. And it was Councilman Moss and Frazier and Berkowski were there, and Clerk Banks. It was just a great day, great afternoon, and I know they're going to do it again. Thank you. I'll concede the floor to Mr. Moss.
Well, I think Mr. Lance wants to
Okay, Mr. Lance?
Yes, I heard some alarming news today. I understand the employees who are working less than 15 years benefits are being cut. Will you clarify that, Mr. Administrator?
I don't believe anyone's benefits have been cut. There are discussions going on in the collective bargaining process to define and tie the number of years service to lifetime health care. It should come to no surprise that the audit that we'll be looking at in the next month, there will be a substantial amount of unrecorded retiree health care. And our number is estimated about $170 million. So we typically do not discuss collective bargaining in public. It is one of the items under the Open Meetings Act that is closed. But that is one of the items we are tying and encouraging people to get to a minimum of 15 years worth of service and then a weighted percent after that. So we'd like the employee to have 25 years service before they have 100% retiree health care. It is a matter of collective bargaining, and we are in fact discussing it.
I heard, I didn't hear what you said outside, but I would like to get into it. And I understand that, I understood that they're cutting these people.
Perhaps, Mr. President, perhaps we could schedule a closed session to update the council on these matters.
We will do that, Mr. Lance, if that's all right. We'll have a closed session, and we'll discuss and answer those questions that you may have.
I'm glad I said something publicly because I understand the council approved it. What's going, what's happening in the city?
Let's discuss it under closed session.
I heard.
Mr. Moss?
I did have a couple of comments. First of all, I would like to give congratulations to our Congresswoman Elect Lawrence. You know, we haven't always agreed on every item, but it's been a pleasure working with you, and we wish you well in Congress, as well as Mr. Moss. You know, he's been on the council for 3 years now. And so it's been a pleasure working with you. We haven't always agreed, but we wish you well and trust that you'll represent us well. And with you leaving, it makes me the youngest person on the council. So that means next year we have, there will be some openings on the city council. So we want this millennium generation to get involved in our government, get involved in your community. And one of the ways that you can do that is to join our boards and commissions, and even think about running for office. Mr. Moss, this is your first time running, and you won, and you represented the city well. So we do need the younger generation to get involved in our government. I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah, and we look forward to working together with this team for another year.
Mr. Moss?
Thank you, Mr. President. I've served on this council for 3 years and 1 month, which amounts to 1,125 days, but who's counting? I started my first year on city council at the exact opposite end of the table, and then spent my second year on council in the middle, and I'm now here at the far end from where I started, so I really had to step down from council, because my trajectory was out the door or through the wall. But I want to take the opportunity, Mr. President, to reflect on my time in office, which has amounted to a very productive 1,125 days. And I know that at times I've been a bit long-winded here at these council meetings, particularly in this portion of the agenda, saying paragraphs when maybe a sentence would do. So, of course, this speech will be no different. First, before anything else, I want to thank my fellow members of the Southfield City Council. To Donald Percossi, no one leaves a bigger mark on the history of this city than you. And it is a true honor to be able to say that we worked hand in hand to connect the vision of our city's founders to the development of our city's future. And I know that one day I will be telling the next generation of Southfielders about the legacy of Don Percossi. But for now, I'm excited that that partnership is not yet over. I'm excited for your upcoming tenure as mayor in 2015. And I'm also excited that as the Evergreen Road project continues into next spring and Percoffee Swamp takes shape, that I don't have to be sitting at the council meetings anymore. To Ken Cyber and Myron Frazier, thank you for your friendship. I've sat next to either Myron or Ken every year during the council study session. And so I'm going to miss the laughs that we've had over the last 3 years a lot. Myron, there have been countless times when you have studied the same council packet as me. You've reviewed the same documents and materials as me, but you've come to the council meeting and you've asked a question of the administration or staff or a developer, and I've thought to myself, wow, I wish I had thought of that question. And so voters continue to be incredibly wise to place their trust in you. To Ken, you've been there from the beginning. We first met when I was an intern for Paul Condino, working on some school-related issues, and you were among my first supporters when I decided to run for city council over 3 years ago, and served as an acting therapist throughout that campaign. And I appreciate your friendship. You have a big year ahead of you, and I'm excited for you to share the history of your dedicated service to our community with Southfield residents. To Sylvia Jordan and Sid Lance, my friend, and Joan Seymour, who can't be here right now, I appreciate your dedication to make the community that we all call home a better place. And the dialogue that we've brought to this council table has contributed to many achievements over these last 3 years. And I also want to acknowledge our city clerk, Nancy Banks, and our city treasurer, Irv Lowenberg, for contributing to that dialogue. Here are some of the major achievements we've achieved together. I'm leaving this city council and leaving this city a safer place than I found it. And I think that's the most significant achievement over these last 3 years. Crime is going to start off this year at an 8-year low. We've appointed new police chief, Eric Hawkins, a new fire chief, Keith Rowley. We've hired 6 new police officers and 4 firefighters through the passage of the SAFER grant. We appointed a new city attorney, Sue Ward, and 2 new attorneys. And we appointed, it was a tough period around this time last year with the death of our beloved friend, Jim Shred. But our city is in able hands with the unanimous selection of Fred Zorn as city administrator. We balanced consecutive budgets, no layoffs, and to that end, we ended the hiring freeze. And so, council, I urge you, as we're filling in some of these department heads, and some of these department heads are already in place, and we're hiring staff, to listen to the experts in their chosen field when making a decision. In terms of road construction, we've hit almost every road, or every area throughout this community. To name a few, Lobster Road between 11 and 12 miles the last 3 years. Civic Center Drive between Evergreen and Northwestern Highway. The Beach Road Bridge, most of 8 miles. Evergreen Road between 8 Mile and 9 Mile. Greenfield Road between 8 Mile and 9 Mile. And thanks to city voters, we can do so much more in the local neighborhoods throughout this city over the next 10 years. And I'm not forgetting Evergreen Road between 10 Mile and 11 Mile. I firmly believe that this project is going to lead to the economic rebound of this city. And this partnership between the city and the city center and Lawrence Tech is the best thing we have going for us. So don't let delay at this table slow down that momentum. In terms of personal achievements on city council, I'm proud that I pushed for the creation of the Economic Development Committee to show that Southfield is open for business. I've championed a mixed-use zoning, which we've utilized several times, a non-motorized pathway plan to provide alternative transportation for Southfield residents. And as was said earlier, I think I've encouraged millennials to participate in our civic government here. We passed a resolution that called for the appointments of more people under the age of 30, 35 for boards and commissions. And I want to touch a little bit about being young, and being young on the city council. When I was elected, there were some concerns over how this then 25-year-old go-getter was going to affect the dynamic of this council and this organization. And it still amazes me that I'll meet people in this city who have no idea what my name is, but know me as a young kid on city council. Or no matter how much older I get, for the last 3 years I've been a 25-year-old councilman in the newspaper. For the record, I'm 28 and a half. I hope I've dispelled any notion that someone young or new to this organization can't contribute, which is important as this council will welcome 2 new members over the next year, and at least 1 more in the 2015 election. Council, please treat them as equals. Value their input as if they served as long as you have, because in reality, some of their strongest qualifications will be their fresh set of eyes. I hope I've been a good colleague. There are life skills that I've learned here and will take with me to Lansing. To listen before I talk, but not be afraid to speak my opinion. To compromise and find consensus, but not be afraid to stand alone when I feel passionate about something, particularly that bioswale. But as was mentioned earlier, I do feel like I've left here with some unfinished business. And I'm encouraged that hopefully this anti-discrimination ordinance can be taken up next year. I won't be on council at the time, but I do want to add my input as I brought this forward. The state's Elliot Larsen Civil Rights Act protects Michigan residents by prohibiting discrimination in employment, housing, and public accommodation based on a person's religion, race, national origin, age, sex, height, weight, familial status, or marital status, but it does not protect residents based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. And as was mentioned, Mayor Lawrence and I introduced this ordinance around this time last year, and it went through the legislative committee with full support, and I chair that committee. President Obama, a Democrat, has asked for LGBT anti-discrimination protections on the federal level, and Congress has refused to act. And Governor Snyder, a Republican, has asked for LGBT anti-discrimination on the state level, and the state legislature has refused to act. And just last week, a bill died in committee that was going to do that. So I urge this council to join the more than 30 municipalities that protect all of its citizens from discrimination within their border, including some of the largest economies in our state. And I would say we're competitive with those cities: Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and Lansing, and our surrounding cities in Oakland County: Birmingham, Ferndale, Pleasant Ridge, Royal Oak, and Lathrop Village, our neighbor. Farmington Hills is having this discussion right now, and so should Southfield. Business Leaders for Michigan, which is a roundtable of top CEOs in Michigan, supports this expansion of anti-discrimination because failing to do so leaves us vulnerable on that battlefield of attracting young and progressive talent to our state and our city. Plus, it's the right thing to do. In closing, I have to give special acknowledgement to 4 people, all Southfielders, who are the reason that I sit here as a city councilman and will soon serve as our state representative. First and foremost, my parents, who are still remarkably at the meeting still. If you met me on the campaign trail, either in 2011 or 2014, or hopefully every campaign into the future, you met my mother, who is with me every step in every neighborhood along the way. And if you've seen a long shot of the city council meetings from that camera on the balcony, and I'm looking with my head down, it's because I'm likely responding to a text message from my father, who watches these council meetings diligently. I'm only here because of their love and support, and I appreciate all that you've done for me. I really, truly do. Thirdly, to State Representative Rudy Hobbs, my former boss and now predecessor. As I prepare to take office in January, the one thing that I consistently hear in the corridors of the state capitol is the universal and bipartisan praise for Rudy Hobbs. I have the task of filling those large shoes in Lansing, and will work every day to meet his standard of serving his constituents as an effective lawmaker. And lastly, what more can I say, Mayor Lawrence? Of 10 and a half years of mentorship and of friendship, I will say this. I was Mayor Lawrence's staff during her lieutenant governor race in 2010. And when you pluck 2 Southfielders out of the suburban comforts of Oakland County and put them in a car at 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the UP, on that 5-hour trek from Marquette down to Traverse City, with no cell phone service, no radio station, no car in front of you for hundreds of miles, no car behind you for hundreds of miles, and all you have is each other and an iPod playing Patti LaBelle. You really get to know one another. I've been with you side by side on both winning and losing campaigns over this last decade. And perhaps the most important lesson that you've taught me is to persevere when others count you out. And you have that special type of political and personal courage that I admire so much. And I hope it's rubbed off on me. And I thank you for everything. I appreciate you. So, Council, I'm not going anywhere, really. You're going to get sick of me attending these council meetings. I promise you that. Unfortunately, I'll be restricted to 3 minutes and not 3 minutes. But actually, to that end, I actually want to keep true to my promise to be engaged and involved. And, Mr. President, I would like to speak at the next council meeting on the presentation portion of the council meeting and request to be on the agenda to introduce my staff in my office, how residents can accept me and find out what my office can provide to Southfield residents. So for the last time, Mr. President, I yield back to you.
Will you, that Jeremy fills out a form. I was last to appear before his colleagues.
Put your P.O. box.
Again, I'm the attorney, to say no.
Appreciate it.
Now, Jeremy, it's been really great. It's really been fun because seeing you grow up as a councilman and being a fine young man, it's just unbelievable how much you contributed. And without running and never stopped. And I think that the city's better because of that. So I hope that when you get up there in Lansing that you let them know that Southfield is still around and you get the real tough guys as your aid so that we can take them all on. And but it's really been nice. It's a pleasure working with not only you, Jeremy, but we've got a bunch of individuals on this council. I think that really work. A lot of people really don't give them the credit that they have done in this, in the city. I mean, they just go through the financial situation we went through, sticking it out, coming forward with ideas, and supporting our administrator at the time, and also coming aboard with our new administrator, working with our city attorney and all the staff people who contribute, our clerk. I think that the city of Southfield can be very proud of its leadership. And Mayor, I say this to you, that I've enjoyed you being mayor. I really have. I think that you contributed a lot. I wish you the very best there in Washington, D.C. And I know it's going to be tough because I don't think you know what they're doing. But I hope you find a place to live. But it's been really good. You're part of that same team that I believe has moved the city forward and addressed the needs of the community and made sure that we kept our nose to the grinder, and we did. And I think everybody who's with the staff, or our residents, our business people have all helped along the way, and they were part of the team, and they bought into a partnership. And so, anyways, thank you, everybody, and enjoy the holidays. I know, but I'm still going to talk under council portion.
Oh, okay, fine.
And I wish everybody a blessed holiday, and see you next year. Mr. Cyber, do you have something to say?
I just wanted to, and not stress this out, get maudlin, but this is a bittersweet moment for my friend Brenda and my friend Jeremy. I've really enjoyed working with both of you. Brenda, you have been a mentor to me. I remember back in 2001, when I decided to run for council, your support and help then, and we've agreed on most things, especially curb appeal, and many other things. And to Jeremy, you know, it's interesting what you said about Myron. I also, I mean, he comes up with these obscure things, but I have to say to you that, you know, there were people who said, well, maybe he's too young, and we need experience, but I can say that as we have gone over the agenda, sometimes there are things that just never dawned on me. That way you've looked at it differently than I have, and that's been very instructive and helpful. I've really enjoyed having you on council. I think you've added a great deal, as well as personally being able to share the things that we're working on for the benefit of the community. So I appreciate you both, and I wish you all the best in your new endeavor. I know both of you are going to do a great job. And the beauty of it is you both live here, you both know the city, and we will have great representation in Washington and in Lansing. So best to both of you, and happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, I would like to also say congratulations once more to both Brenda and Jeremy. And as you go to Washington and as you go to Lansing, I think we ought to take a collection and buy you a suitcase so that you can take an empty suitcase out and bring a full one back. So that you can bring things back. And I know you'll do everything you can because you know what we need. And you both know what we need. And it's been my pleasure working with, well, I worked with Brenda a lot longer than I worked with Jeremy. But you're one of the quickest studies, Jeremy, that I've ever run into. And it's sometimes kind of scary. And I know you're going to do a good job. And the last thing I'm going to say is still a damn good city. Just one other thing that's unrelated to this, but yesterday I attended the implosion with my grandchildren, and you haven't seen anything until you have young grandchildren watch their building fall in the face. We taped it, and they're going to be around for a long time talking about what happened yesterday. So, but I don't want that to overshadow the fact that what I said about you, the both of you. So, bring it back.
Well, all I can say, and I'd like to say, I'm still here. I'd like to thank all the constituents of the city of Southfield and the trust. You trusted me, and I appreciated it, and I'm still working hard for you, and I anticipate coming back. About 8 months ago, I had an accident, and you probably didn't know what happened to me. I wasn't here, but I'm back, and I'll be around, I hope. I'll be around next year. And then we'll decide to see what I will do. I'll probably stay here till 100 years old. Anyway, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody, and hope to see you again. Bye.
Yes, I'll try not to be as long as, really? I just want to say happy holidays, everyone. I wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. I always stress the importance of family and health, and as we gather together with all our family and neighbors and friends, remember the most important thing is family, it's your health, and it's community. So just celebrate those things. I do want to just say something. I thank my colleagues already. When I came on council, it was Sylvia Jordan and Ken Tiger, and why do you think you came on this? It was a time when it was a whole new council, and it was a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. Over the years, it hasn't been as much excitement as it's been, it's been some heated debate. It's part of our democracy, but the one thing that I do want to say is governing this great city with each of us has such passion that it is that respect of diversity and thought that to me is what makes a city great. I'm constantly asked, who's going to be the next mayor? And the citizens of this great city will answer that question. But I do just want to say that being the mayor of this city has meant never once forgetting who I represent, never once losing the focus and the passion that what I do, how I vote, and what I say reflects upon my city. So whoever is the mayor must understand that it's not about them, it's about the citizens. I've had people say you're a ribbon cutter. I'm proud to cut ribbons in this great city. I have cut some tremendous ribbons. Lawrence Tech, that was recognizing, putting the shovels in the ground. I can still say cutting the ribbon for our library was one of the high points of my tenure. So we've cut many ribbons in this city, and I'm proud of that. I will tell you, because this city does not have an ombudsman, that the office of the mayor takes so many complaints. When it's frustration, when I can't get through, when I need someone to hear me. And I will never forget that time during the foreclosure crisis where a mother called me and said, I'm better off dead than alive for my children because they will get more. I've lost my job, I'm losing my house. Why did she call the mayor's office? But that's where knowing that the mayor's office is important to this city. And we were able, and what makes being mayor of the city so great is that I always had a qualified, responsive team in the city. The employees of this city I've never called. When someone called and they needed help, that we didn't respond immediately. This is a great city. I can tell you, engaging in the budget process over the years, as a council person and as a mayor, and knowing that I have never had a council that took the budget process lightly, and that's why we were able to survive, is because this council has continuously made sure that this city didn't just survive for today, but they made tough decisions, and please keep making those. Because one of the things that people look at the demographic and diversity in our city, and they are sometimes puzzled of how great and how we survive and how we can be such a community that everyone can live here, and that's why the Elliot Larsen Act is so important. We have led the way. I mean, and I wrote an article, and I hope you read it, that what happened in Ferguson, that they could take lessons from the city of Southfield. Because we have continuously made sure that our police officers are known as part of this community. And so when there is a situation and someone has to be dealt with in police enforcement, it's never there was a white cop or a black cop or a white person or a black person. The city of Southfield has said those are our police officers, and we don't want crime in our city, and we stood by our police officers. That's right. And that didn't just happen. That has been a continuous effort of this council, myself as the mayor, supporting administration, supporting our police, training them, getting equipment for them. You know, they are, I look, and I encourage everyone, what they give them to fight crime. It is important that we embrace tasers because that gives you another option to enforce a volatile situation without using them. And we did that years ago. That is important. I want you to know that the mayor has a veto. And you can count the number of times I used it. And when I used it, I meant it. I really wanted the council to understand that maybe they were doing something that was going to impact the city. But I didn't use it on a casual basis. I could have had a veto a lot.
A good one, Carpenter Lake. Yes. Yes.
I want this community to know that your next mayor should be someone that shows up. You show up at the 100-year-old birthday. You show up at different places of worship, not because you are worshiping the same way they do, but you respect the fact that they're in the city. I want my next mayor, because I'm a resident of this city, to be someone that think about how we can engage the community and keep this diverse community whole. Because if you don't engage the community and bring them together, they'll start going into silence. And that's when the city starts falling apart. This is what I want from my next mayor. I want a mayor that when they stand up there, even if they disagree with me, I know without a shadow of doubt that they care about the city and they're doing the best that they can do. So as we engage, and I'll be one of those voters picking my next mayor, I want a mayor that at the end of the day, when there is a power outage or there's flooding in our city and basements are full of sewer, that they will have the responsiveness and they will have the staffing that they're responsible for. They will appoint people to boards and commissions that have never held a political office and have no interest in it, but just want to serve. And that they are conscious about diversity on these boards, that our board should be representative of this community. I'm very, very happy about going to Congress. I'm excited. But I can tell you how proud I am of these last 22 years serving this community. And Southfield will not fail. As long as we have members of our elected officials who continue to do the work. Mine drives me crazy collecting everything in this. But you know what? It's important that our minutes reflect accurately. City Lance will argue with a bird on a tree if he believes in something. But at the end of the day, you elect people to be passionate and to become a watchdog of the community. Southfield County is a walking book of history, and sometimes a document. But you know what? That history plays into the decisions we have to make. Ken Simon, he is that person that, just brings those ideas of public art and modern, mid-century modern. He talks about issues that are happening in cities across the country and bring them in. And I appreciate that, so we don't get stale, we don't get stagnant. Sylvia Jordan has, when she is, that's one thing, I have a reputation of being persistent. But when she thinks there's something that we need to work on, that's something that, she's not going to let it go. She keeps bringing it back. She keeps keeping us aware that issue is important to her. And I thank you for that. Jeremy, you just impressed me so much. As much as I believed in you, supported you, you exceeded all my expectations in that seat. You are an amazing young man. I just want to say to Nancy Banks, she came on board when we did too. And Nancy has been our clerk, and she believes the city of Southfield. And election after election, and I remember the presidential election for for President Obama. That was an amazing experience for her. And to see Nancy come in and just really, where was honored the keeping of the ballot, our election. And Nancy and I are like girlfriends or sisters. Because sometimes we'll go toe to toe on issues, but then we hug at the end of the day. And I really do appreciate her. So, just to wrap up, we lost a city administrator, we lost an attorney, but I have such hope and confidence in the city, because I think we got two amazing individuals. Sometimes you don't think that we can replace what we have, and we didn't replace it, but we have amazing people with vision, with commitment, as city attorney. I have a planner that I'm so proud of you. And it's been tough for you. I recognize that. But you didn't stop. You stayed focused, and you are committed to serving this community. And you've had some amazing zoning opportunities for the city. I appreciate you. And I thank you. So, I'm getting really mushy here. So, have an amazing day. I want the mayor's walk to continue in some kind of way. So whoever's our next mayor, I want you to walk, run, do something that promotes health in the city. I think Flower Day, our code enforcement, I can't tell you how much I love my code enforcement person here in Southfield. He is the guy that I can call to this paper on the street, and he said he'll be there in 2 minutes to pick it up. And we need to have strong code enforcement. We cannot sustain the city without that. And lastly, I want to say to everyone here, I'm like Jeremy, I'm not going away. I have to be in Congress to vote, but I've already got a list from Fred Thorne, who said, I'm going to be contacting you on these issues. And I'm going to work hard. I have not gotten my committee assignments. So once I get those, that's going to drive some of the agendas that I have. We won't get those into January. And to the residents who are listening and say, when is she going to stop? And those of you who are here, love you. Thank you for everything, and God bless you. Is it all clear? No, that's not.
Administration? Okay. Yes, I do. Earlier we discussed we're wrapping up the audit, and the audit is being finished up. Have department heads preparing our accomplishments for 2014. It was quite a bit, particularly the economic development, and planning. I think the council and the mayor set the stage for some very exciting things in 2015. Want to believe we're in a period of gift giving, and with some announcements. Council had authorized the submittal of 4 grants earlier in the year, and received a couple of emails from Mary Carlock, former person Parks and Rec, who did a lot of footwork. I want to let council know that the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund, we're off approved for the 2 grants we submitted. Englewood Park, $280,000 in state funds. The Horse Trail Woods acquisition, $99,800 was approved. Then 2 other grants, the Michigan Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for Pebble Creek for play lot, $100,000 grant. And Beechwood Center was approved one of the recreational passport grants. So all 4 grants that council authorized to be submitted maybe 6 months ago for $524,800 have been approved. Yes, there's some local matches. We'll be bringing those forward at our study session in January. We have some creative way how we're going to get to those matches. But I think that's just another city department working. Last council meeting we requested authorization to submit almost $1 million in requests to FEMA. but not every day that she gets to announce $524,800 grants coming to the community. Happy holidays. Myself and staff, we are extremely excited about the prospects for 2015, and we're committed to seeing the city of Southfield grow and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. We have the clerk, treasurer, planner, we have the expense report, Nancy Banks.
I move that we approve the expense report for Nancy Banks for attending the National League of Cities.
Approved by Mr. Fraser, supported by Mr. Cyber. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion carries. Nancy, do you have anything else?
Unfortunately, I think the mayor has left. I just wanted to congratulate her on her new position and wish her well. You know, she's going to do great things in Washington, and I look forward to working with her when she's there. And then also to Jeremy, I know you're not going far, but I'm going to miss you on council. I'm going to miss calling you, just picking your brain apart, but you're not going far, and I hope that you'll be able to help the clerk in this wonderful state in making some changes to the election law that we desperately need. And there's a lot of new election equipment that's going to be coming down, and I told everyone we have another friend in Lansing that will hopefully work with us and help us to pass legislation. So best wishes to you. Don't be a stranger, and I know you're not going to. And also I'd like to wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Enjoy the time with your family, friends, and loved ones. See you in 2015.
Sarah, do you have anything?
Just wish everyone a happy holidays.
Great. Herb?
Thank you. I wanted to also wish Councilman Jeremy Moss much success. It's been a pleasure working with you in the city, as well as our mayor, Brenda Lawrence. I know that you're going to do great things over there, and we look forward to working hand in hand with you in Lansing, and hopefully you bring back lots of grant money and lots of opportunities that we will be able to make our city a much better place than all the things that we've already done so far. So good luck and much success to all residents. I want to wish them happy holidays and happy and healthy 2015 for everyone. Just a reminder also, there will be an organization that will be putting on a public menorah lighting on the front lawn. It's going to be on Thursday evening at 5:30. And so everyone's invited to that. There will also be fire juggling over there for that, and some other entertainment for the families. So hopefully I won't be able to participate. Much success and happiness for everyone. Thank you.
Larry?
Mr. President, I move that we enact ordinance number 1634.
Moved by Mr. Fraser, supported by Mr. Cyber. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yay. Ms. Jordan?
Yes, and this, again, Mr. Moss, when you get to Lansing, if you can really work on our insurance rate, you put that on your agenda to see what we can do to lower our auto insurance rate.
Hand in hand with council to push that forward.
Thank you very much.
And charter school.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Lance, it's great seeing you here. I know that it's tiring to be here because of your flu illness, but it's nice to have you here and stand and participate. Okay? Jeremy, again? Good. Everybody else? Think so? Let's see your family. And, see you all.